What is up, everybody? Welcome back into this awesome oblivion going on. Today, joining me, as per usual, we got Geo.
Hello.
Dragon.
Hello.
Lion.
Hello.
Worms.
Balfair.
And of course, myself, Jay. Today, we're going to be discussing Star Wars. Dun 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 dun.
Be careful, I don't know how many bars of that you can legally read.
Oh, shit.
So, join us now, because we're going to learn about how Ewoks are trash,
Yep.
Jar Jar Binks is the greatest character to ever exist, and little kid Anakin is just the greatest child actor of all time.
Kill you.
So we're starting off real well right now, huh, Lion? I don't know, what thoughts and opinions do you guys have about Star Wars?
Let's start with, okay, no arguments.
No, this has to be
No, I
arguments.
know, there will be arguments. But first, real quick, no arguments. Favorite, least favorite Star Wars movies?
For me?
Yeah, just real quick, we'll go around.
Round table.
Alright, so I'm going to be super controversial, I already know.
We'll get into it, yeah.
First favorite is Episode 2, Clone Wars. Least favorite of all the Star Wars ones, still fantastic movie, is Episode 7. Great movie, just least favorite Star Wars.
Okay.
Alright.
Counter. Best movie, Episode 4. Least favorite and overall terrible movie, Episode 7.
Most favorite of all time, Episode 5. Least favorite of all time, Episode 1.
Okay. Favorite of all time, an Ewok adventure. No, I'm sorry, that's not true. No, worst Star Wars movie of all time would probably be the second Ewok adventure movie. But favorite Star Wars movie of all time, it's kind of a tough one actually. I'm the one that posed this, and I'm like, I don't even know. I'd probably have to go with Episode 7, the latest one. Right, that's the latest one, not Rogue One. But
The latest.
The latest of episodes,
yes, the latest
episodic
episodics.
Star Wars.
Yeah, the one with Rey, right? Close to that though would be, I think, the one you said, Episode 2, right?
Episode 2, that's my favorite.
Yeah, that's a close one up there with Episode 7. So.
For your favorite?
Yeah, for favorite, yeah. I mean, it's got what's her face, Padme Amidala.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she's that's the
In the
white
outfit.
the white
It gets
outfit, and it
cut
gets
up.
ripped.
So,
Yeah.
And she's already showing midriff to begin with.
Exactly.
So
It becomes
Yeah.
better.
It's
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
like the hope of underboob. Like, huh.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Tasteful.
Geo.
Tasteful.
I'd probably say least favorite, Episode 1. That's easy. Favorite? I actually really.
The holiday special?
Yeah.
Get
yeah.
out.
Oh,
100%. I want to say either Episode 6 for one
For
very,
least favorite.
for favorite.
Oh,
for
for
one
favorite. I
very
was like-
specific reason. And then or Rogue One because I actually really
Yeah,
liked
see, Rogue One's fantastic.
It was so well, and I like that it
So third
wasn't.
best.
Okay.
You're
Sorry,
wrong,
get
Worm.
into it.
I basically thought Rogue One was garbage, except for the last, 15 seconds with Darth Vader.
Dude, the last 15 seconds. And
And
by
that-
the way, spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert, the last 15 seconds of Rogue
It is
One
all
with Darth Vader
amazing.
is the greatest 15 seconds in all of Star Wars.
All Star Wars.
It's-
Actually, you're right.
It's
Yeah.
fantastic when you're watching Rogue One, but it's also the biggest problem with Rogue One, and that is if you watch Episode 4 immediately after, you realize that it makes no sense. Like, Rogue One
Oh,
is
well,
so-
makes sense.
Okay.
Explain that to me.
I
How does
want
it make no
that to.
sense? Okay, thank you.
I'll follow up. So, first off, Episode 4 opens up, and it's like slow moving. Like, oh, we're on a peacekeeping mission. We're being ambassadors. I'm Ambassador Leo Organa, and I'm trying to play dumb about these schematic things. Whereas in the last 15 seconds of Rogue One, it's like space battle.
No,
we
she-
definitely saw you take this shit.
Yeah, she
Like,
clearly stole it.
yeah,
well, to me-
so it kind of writes that, and then further with the Darth Vader thing, Darth Vader wrecks. He just comes through and spends 30 seconds just demolishing people in a totally awesome way, and then 30 minutes later, he's talking to his generals, and they're like, I don't know why you believe in that crazy Force stuff.
Okay,
That
I'll
doesn't make
give you
sense. Like
that.
crazy old religion. And I'm like, you just saw him hours ago.
Okay.
Wreck.
And now, in defense of Princess Leia, in Rogue One, they didn't know that she was aboard that ship. They did not know that.
Right, no, but that's the thing, is that there's this big battle, like, obviously the plans are on this ship, like, it's this thing, it's this getaway from...
No, I get that,
and
but
then
if you're just saying...
At the start of episode 4, she's like, oh no, this is a peaceful mission, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, but she's playing coy. It's not. Even before Rogue One, just back in the days of the original trilogy, I never thought she was like serious. She's lying. She's talking to Darth Vader. She's
Right,
like,
with the confused
But it's like,
Sensitive
it becomes a completely unbelievable lie, it just becomes her, at best, like, being a sarcastic person.
I think that's what it was
Yeah,
in
you're
the
not
first
supposed
place.
to. She's not supposed to be completely
Darth Vader didn't
believable.
believe her.
Right.
He was like, stupid.
Darth Vader wasn't like, oh, okay, I'm gonna talk to this person.
No, I mean, it's not, like, the believable thing, but, like, there's gotta be some plausibility for it, like, for her to say it. Otherwise, it's
Well,
just like...
how many hours
You're making
or
a
days or weeks passed from Rogue One to Episode 4?
It's
Like literal minutes.
No, it's
literal
like
minutes.
literally minutes.
Yeah, like,
Okay.
Maybe a half hour at the most.
So Worm's point kind of makes sense. I get it, but
That's
Leia's
a
character
understandable
is
part.
very
she is a
sarcastic, and
Yeah.
so when she's like,
B word.
oh, I've got the plan.
I don't know.
Okay,
This
so,
is
like, that specific instance
Snooty.
isn't necessarily the biggest hang-up for me, but in general, like, because of, like, how big Rogue One is, it's like, you know, planets getting blown up, big battles happen on beaches, all of these really important and interesting characters basically making the rebellion, even though there's, like, a rebellion established, and they don't care, and they want to surrender. They're like, oh, we're the rebellion, please arrest us. Doesn't
You have
make
a
any
planet
sense.
killer? Oh, okay, never mind.
So like these characters that start the rebellion, and then they get like no mention because of the prequel nature of it. Like they're so not able to be worked into it, but it happens like right before that, and they're so central. It's like there's these battles that are happening, there are these characters, there's all of this stuff happening, and it's a cool movie. I really enjoy watching it by itself, but then when you think about it in the context of the Star Wars canon, you're like, this fits really, really awkwardly.
Well, again, just to be clear, the only thing that truly counts as Star Wars canon is Knights of the Old Republic. I do.
To be clear,
I want to make that a point.
only canon is the character I made in that Knights of the Old Republic.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's not in the rest of the
Specifically my
franchise.
character.
Your
is
guys'
trash.
character didn't happen.
Your character didn't count, yeah. Only mine. She
And
wasn't-
my choices. And I was
Yeah,
Paragon.
exactly. And my character didn't get mentioned in the movies, so
Maybe
completely
Sue him.
invalidating them.
Sue him, Dragon.
Sue him for everything. Go for it.
Lucasfilms, you didn't even mention the historic battles that took
I need
place
to
with
talk-
my
I need to talk to
character.
Big Mouse
4,000
himself.
years in the past.
You're gonna put every single person who made a character in the credits of all the movies. It's super long.
I feel like 30 hours of credits.
It really would be.
I mean, back in the day, that was like one of the most played games of all time.
Was it?
I don't know, I feel like it was a little bit hardcore for like most of like the general audience. Like it's like an expansive game, and it's at its core based on like Dungeons and Dragons type gameplay. So like
Not bad.
all of us, and I include any listeners in that, like we probably got a lot of gameplay out of it, loved it dearly. But like in general, like the people who go out and watch like summer movies and like buy video games at Christmas, like probably not.
Well,
I guess if it came out now, I think more people would pick it up.
Probably
like the whole
considering
Skyrim
the hype,
effect.
yeah.
Yeah. But just for the record, definitely do Knights of the Old Republic 3. I definitely want to see that.
I wouldn't.
Please,
Not
please,
the
Power.
internet version.
Okay,
No.
so no, here's the thing: is that I don't trust anything from BioWare post like halfway through Dragon Age Origins.
Yeah, but it wouldn't be by BioWare, it'd be Obsidian, the people who did the second one.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that still raises a lot of eyebrows because Obsidian famously pushes out like half-done games. Like literally all of their games like make Bethesda games look polished.
But they make the best half of games I've ever played.
Fair enough.
So, I want to get a read around the room. Where does Ewoks stand for each individual? Starting with Geo.
Like as a race?
Ewoks in the movie, watching episode 6, did you enjoy Ewoks showing up and helping take down the Empire, or were you like, what's these little fuzzy bear things doing in my movie?
I thought. Oh, go ahead.
I just thought they were creepy. They were definitely creepy.
They are.
I mean, they were cannibals.
Yeah.
But I'm indifferent. I'm not like, oh, they ruined it. But I'm also like.
I don't think anyone says that Ewoks like ruined it.
A lot of people say Ewoks ruined it.
They
A lot
didn't
of
take
people.
away from
I
it
just-
for me.
It's really hard to watch some of it happen where logs and stones are destroying like ATSTs.
That would definitely be
Yes.
my number one complaint with those characters.
Absolutely.
They crumble them like paper.
I don't mind the Ewok in and of
Well
itself.
made.
I think in a vast enough universe of aliens,
Ewoks exist.
Ewoks would exist.
Okay.
You're bound to run into like the cute little pink fuzzy bunny that knows kung fu and is a master of 7 types of weaponry and could kill anybody in this room with one paw tied behind its back. That's a thing that would exist in an infinitely vast universe
But
of
those
aliens.
aren't Ewoks.
Those aren't Ewoks. My point is that I'm cool with the idea of a small cuddly creature that is like a ruthless tribal thing and has traps and is able to war and stuff like that. But yeah, when it comes down to it, they just make the stormtroopers look even worse than they already looked. And I'm like, how the hell has the stormtrooper been responsible, like the bread and butter unit of an army that has taken over the entire galaxy?
When these little Ewoks
When
with
these
their
Ewoks
sticks.
can kick their asses, yeah. So
I'll agree with Dragon because I think Ewoks are garbage. But at the same time, I don't mind there being like some kind of tribal society that wants to band together with the rebels to fight the greater enemy. That's okay. And
it's really reliant on C-3PO being their gold god,
yeah.
and Leia first stumbling upon him and kind of being nice to one, getting like a snack.
true, you're right, and that makes sense. But what I hate
Getting all
is
that node.
Yeah.
what I hate is like, especially I feel like there's that line in A New Hope where Obi-Wan Kenobi's like, he sees the wrecked Jawa sandcrawler, and he's like, those blaster bolts are too accurate to be Tusken Raiders.
Right on the
And,
stormtroopers.
yeah. And I'm like, okay, yeah, sure. And then they just like all that has to happen is that a little fuzzy bear crawls on top of someone and whacks it with a rock and a stick. And I'm like, are you joking?
And I
Are you
actually have-
joking?
I have a thing about that that's like a whole rant that when we're done with Ewoks, I'm gonna dive into this.
Good.
As far as Ewoks, I actually really appreciate them because, like, A, they're adorable. Like, that's just valuable in and of itself. But
Are
B,
they
they're
though?
like,
From a distance, they're cute, but
But
as soon
up
as you get up on
close,
their
dude, they got
face,
like
their eyes are
snarly
weird.
teeth and blood everywhere.
But okay,
But-
but isn't
but-
that true of every cute mammal?
yeah, basically.
Like hamsters and chihuahuas and shit. When you really get close to them, you're like, you are disgusting.
But my thing is that,
I
like,
could think of-
they're the only thing in the entirety of the trilogy that you, like, mourn. Like, when one dies and his friend's, like, trying to, like, wake him up, and you're like, oh no, I am actually sad about a death. Like, where the rest of them are just, like, faceless, like, stormtroopers and stuff like that. Like, they, like, add
they don't
their
have souls,
consequence
yeah.
to death. And, like, I don't know, like, that's cool. And
I
also,
cried over each individual stormtrooper death.
Wait, even the one that did the Wilhelm scream? No.
I cried hardest for
so my thing on why Star Wars Episode 4 is the best of them, it leads up to the Stormtrooper thing. Alright? It all loops back around.
Okay.
Don't make your faces at me.
Alright.
No,
That's
I'm
not
just
fun.
like, where'd you pull this out? Like, my best Star Wars episode ever is 4. First off,
Please
wrong.
tell me because I have
So
Yeah.
I have
wrong.
one thing. If you make a constructive argument, I'll agree with you. But there's one
No.
thing. Well, if he has a good enough argument, I might partially agree with him. Maybe not wholly, but there's one thing, and it's not even Star Wars' fault on its own. It's just an acting choice that I didn't agree with, and there were a lot of acting choices I didn't agree with, and directing choices I
Anything
didn't agree
Hayden
with.
Christensen did.
No, episode 4. I'm talking A New Hope. I'm not talking about the prequels. There's directing and acting choices in that movie that I'm just like, what were they thinking? Like, what?
Like,
Who? What?
old Ben Kenobi just coming up in like his
Well,
cloth, and he's
yeah,
just like,
sure that, but more than anything else, there's one scene that stands out in my mind that prevents episode 4 from being in one of my one of my like top 3 favorite Star Wars movies, and that's where Luke's with Ben Kenobi, right? And then he's like, they see the wrecked Jawa sandcrawler, and then they're like, oh no, Uncle Ben, no, I gotta go home. And he's like, oh, and he gets in his speeder, and the music's all dramatic, and then he rolls up to the hut, and their bodies are literally burning in front of him, and all I see is this deadpan, no emotion, look down to the left, look back up, and then I go tell Obi-Wan Kenobi, I have to go and be a Jedi now. Like, there was no part in that scene where I really felt that Luke was, like, actually sad to see basically his mother and father be murdered.
Mark Hamill was terrible.
No, and I agree, there's definitely parts where he was not 100%, like, really grown as an actor yet, so I understand that was one of his first moments to really bust out and show his acting chops, and they weren't great yet, and I'll agree with that too. But because of that, and also because of, like, freaking, I don't even need to say it, but Princess Leia's on again, off again British accent that's throughout the movie. I'm like, why? Reshoot the scene. So go ahead, Worm.
Okay, so those are actually really valid, and to be honest with you, I don't have a lot of reputation for them. But the thing that I value most about A New Hope is that it is self-contained.
Okay.
And I mean that both in terms of, like, within the franchise and within the genre.
Okay.
So, for me, I've got a big problem with what I refer to as genre fiction, which, if you like it, cool. Like, a lot of people out there do, it sells. But it's the idea that this movie should have lasers and starfighters because people like lasers and starfighters, and it doesn't really leverage the idea of sci-fi for storytelling. And it happens in fantasy as well. It's like, well, people like dragons, let's throw some dragons in this movie.
Well, I want to see his lightsaber battles. Just give me 2 hours.
So you're looking for the genre fiction.
That's why Clone Wars is the best one.
I agree. Yeah.
So Episode 4 was like a proper movie that leveraged its sci-fi nature to tell its story. For me, like, the best moment in all of Star Wars is when Luke is still there on Tatooine and he's like staring off into the sunsets, and he like wants to go, and the music score is swelling, and it has this like sense of grandness, and he wants to go be part of this thing that is so much bigger than himself, and it is galaxy wide. It is that big. And it's going on, and
it's a feel in the heart moment for sure.
And
is that really what makes it the best, though? I mean, a lot of moments like that.
I feel like that moment is my favorite moment, but it's like it's not the thing that makes it the best. The thing that makes it the best is how self-contained it is.
Okay.
And
like if they had ended the franchise there, you still would enjoy it on its own.
It would have been good, but as the franchise goes on, it delves more and more into that genre fiction territory, even going as far as Episode 5. In Episode 4, when Luke and Han go to rescue Princess Leia, the stormtroopers don't hit them, and then they're like, oh, it's because we were meant to escape. And it's a whole reason why these stormtroopers that are way too accurate for Sand Raiders, they missed, because there was this reason. And then as the franchise goes on into Episode 5 and 6, they're just bad shots because we want to see lasers and we want to hear that sound effect. And so Episode 4, leveraging the sci-fi nature to be its own self-contained story, and also not trying to delve into sequel bait and be reliant on other movies in the franchise to tell part of the story for it. That's why I think Episode 4 is the best.
Okay. When you put it that way, I will agree with you mostly. As a self-contained story, yeah, I'll agree with you, because if the franchise didn't continue after that, it would still be good on its own. Gio, did you have a point that you want to bring up? Because
I did.
I mean, you're making silly faces.
But I can't remember.
Okay, cool. That's fine. No worries. No worries.
Continue, Lion.
I mean, you make some really good points there, and it does actually maybe possibly reconsider Episode 4 a little bit in its merits, but all in all, I'm just like, it's the worst one. I know I joked about the Ewok one, because the Ewok one's really the worst ones, but in the true episodic franchise of it, it just comes across the worst to me. Like, everything's so bad about it. The acting is all terrible, and none of the story makes any sense to me. And
yeah, there are some issues with it, like the fact that Han Solo was not a smuggler. Like, his job title is smuggler. People know him as smuggler, and yet he wants to be a taxi, I guess. When Luke first meets him, he's like, oh yeah, I'll take you there. Oh, what, you want me to smuggle you? I don't know. I'm not sure about this job, and it'll definitely be extra money. Like,
Well, but again, that was just banter to jack up the price.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like, he was literally just being like, oh, well, if you're going to inconvenience me, that's
Then
a
I'm gonna
20% fee.
cost you extra.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Han Solo was amazing.
So Greedo shot first, right?
Jay, how quickly do you want to be kicked? Yes. No, that's not even something that we. That's not there. Okay, let me real quick. I won't be on this for long.
Question.
So, when you ask that question, who shot first?
I'm not really asking it.
Well,
I know
but
who
you
shot
brought it
first.
up. So, when someone asks the question, who shot first, I can't. That's not even a thing in my mind, because who shot first implies that there was more than one shooter, and there wasn't. There was always only
There was
just
only
one
shooter.
shooter. There was always, because, if you rewatch the original tape, okay, you see the scene, you can see Han's face, and you know for a fact Greedo is going to either kill him, or he's going to take him into Jabba, one way or the other. It's not going to work out for him, and the only course of action he can see at that point is to kill Greedo, and to get the money from these guys he's taking, kind of as a ferry, smuggling people, whatever, and then go back and pay Jabba properly. But he's not going to let this little bastard kill him or drag him in like he's some kind of good bounty hunter. And don't say any Boba Fett jokes, because I'll get mad. But there you go. That's my rant on that.
You're just trying to justify Han Solo's entirely selfish and evil action.
Absolutely.
Cold-blooded murder. No.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
so
No.
he's
Blooded.
hanging out at the most wretched hive of scum and villainy. That's fine. He can do villainous things.
He can do
there's
villainous
There's
and,
no law
you know.
there, yeah.
If you were in his shoes, I think
Moral.
I would have shot first.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I absolutely would. Absolutely.
I probably wouldn't even.
But
made
none
the
of us
conversation.
here- Wait, hold on. Let me ask the question real quick. Is anybody in this room not dark side? Like, Jay, I know you're all dark side.
Sith all the way.
And Worm.
Sith all the way.
Okay.
Because
Yeah. That's
they're not nice
Great
people.
Jedi.
Okay, yeah. I figured that's the path you would want to take.
In almost every situation, I am the villain, but when it comes to this one, it's really hard because, like, what are the benefits to being in the Sith versus being a Jedi? Like,
Well, I'm not just.
Have you ever heard
I'm
of
not-
Darth Plagueis the Wise?
It's a tragic
I'm not just
It's a
saying that.
tragic story.
I'm not really. I'm not just saying. I'm not saying Jedi or Sith. I'm saying
oh, dark.
good, like dark or light, and any faction therein. Like if you have to ally with one faction in the totality of Star Wars, do you ally yourselves on the good quote unquote side or the bad quote unquote side?
Sure.
And that could be either are you Sith, are you Jedi, are you Grey Jedi, are you bounty hunter, are you
I would like to change my
Commando?
answer in that.
Absolutely, you can.
Because the thing is that I just want to be not Jedi.
Yeah.
Because the
Yeah.
Jedi are
Yeah.
jerks.
Trash.
And they don't make
Yeah.
any sense.
Yeah, garbage.
That's why I go with Grey Jedi.
I feel like
Because I'm
I'm
not a bad guy.
But I
I'm
wouldn't
just
want to
like
be a
Jedi,
Force of Death
so-
and like
Yeah.
Can I be a Knight of Ren?
Oh.
Sure. If
I'd
that's
probably
what you
jump.
want. Yeah.
From one to the other, I feel like that's
That'd be a great
most
Jedi.
accurate.
Here's the thing is that like in every video game or whatever, I'm a goody two shoes. Like
Yeah,
Same.
I always
Yeah.
am the good guy.
But when it
Yeah.
comes down to the Star Wars universe,
I can't
I'm a
be.
Sith.
There's just
as long as I'm not
Well,
Jedi and I get
not
Force
Sith,
powers,
but
I don't
okay.
have to be a Sith.
But again, that's the thing is I wouldn't be indoctrinated into the fraternal brotherhood of Sith. Like I wouldn't want to participate in that.
No, so see what I'm thinking. I'm like, okay, take all of Star Wars for all
Like,
of history
yeah,
time.
all
Right.
of the
Not the
totality
Old
of
Republic.
bad.
Sith were just
A people.
like rogue Jedi. Like
Yeah.
I'm just,
Well,
I'm not part of the council. I'm doing my own thing, and I want more power. I'm not gonna yield to this. Like, oh, there has to be two of us.
Okay,
you
well,
know,
be
like-
careful though. You know, you have to make the distinction whether or not you're a dark Jedi or whether or not you're a Sith, because those are different things. If you're a dark Jedi, then you're just a rogue Jedi who doesn't give a fuck.
Right.
Yeah.
Like then you're like, oh, the council's stupid, and I just want to run around with my own powers and just do whatever I want.
I'm just
'Cause
saying-
that's dark
I'm just
Jedi.
saying-
'Cause that's dark
It
Jedi.
also
Cinematic
implies that you
universe,
utilize
I
dark
wouldn't be a Sith
side.
because I'd always have to like be under Palpatine.
Sure,
Well, no,
okay,
but that's the thing.
that's
That you
fair.
kill him, and then you become the new emperor.
But then, like,
Right.
see, with the rule of two, you always
There's
know that
always
that's
that,
going to be the happening.
Yeah.
Like, as soon as you become the master, you find yourself a Padawan, there's always going to be like that, well, he's going to kill me someday.
Yeah.
True.
Like, I don't like that. I like to just be, let's go Old Republic, and I can just be a Sith doing my own thing.
Well, but then, okay, all right.
I don't
no,
agree
yeah.
with Jedi ways.
No, do you know who does? Because they're ridiculous.
I mean, Yoda, all the way. He's
Well,
like,
no, not really. That's why Yoda doesn't head up a council. He like goes and lives in a swamp and is like, yeah.
that's after
that's-
Order
that's-
66.
Well, that's after the.
Yeah,
purge.
but I also think that that's because he doesn't feel like it's worth it to necessarily do. I think he goes kind of neutral at that point. He's like, I'm not really going to get involved in any of that crap again.
And that's why I think Episode 8 is called The Last Jedi. I think, because we hear that line,
Yeah,
where Luke's like, I know one thing that has to happen. It's
time for the Jedi to end.
yeah, because it's like, okay, that council, those rules, that's just retarded.
Well,
Yeah,
and which makes perfect sense if that's the route that they want to go with Episode 8, because it can't work that way anymore.
Right.
It's just like how before before prequel, like Old Republic, like that things changed that then too. So there's always been, and there always will be this change in way things are done and way things are in power. But I don't care what anybody you say. All right, if you're a Mandalorian, you ain't gonna worry about any of that bullshit. I'm just saying. All right, you just run around. No, for real, you just run around like a badass warrior and you just do what you want.
The
Okay?
question was Jedi or Sith?
No, the question was light or dark.
Yeah.
Different.
Well,
There you go. That's the distinction I made. Light or
because
dark.
I'm Superman
that's-
all day.
that's-
I'm
no, no,
light
that's
all the
fine,
time.
that's fine.
Like,
Well, then light. Then that's the answer.
so light Sith?
No, Dark Jedi,
No,
probably,
because-
dog.
Yeah, because you would.
Or-
Because I don't think you participate in the Sith Empire either. That's what you were just saying. You were like, I want to be around. I want to be a Sith during a time when I can just run around and do whatever I want.
Yeah.
That's not being a member of the Sith
Right.
Empire.
Okay.
It doesn't seem
There's
that
like
fun
not
to
Sith
be dark.
Empire, like.
That's like the whole appeal.
Well, there was a Sith Empire.
I mean, yeah, but not in the time of the Rule of Two.
But I am all
Right.
about power, and that's all Sith seek.
So Grey Jedi then is probably the route that you would most likely take. But I don't.
The route
but
that
I
any
see-
rational person would take at this point, really.
Yeah.
I just meant lawyer or whatever. But yeah, no, I understand, because that makes sense, because in either way, whether you go all, because probably Jedi is all the way one way for the light, and true Sith is all the way another way for the dark. And then there are factions in between that will gravitate more closer to the middle, to the
So
neutral.
aesthetically, if we take the cinematic universe,
Absolutely.
if Siths and Jedis were to approach me and be like, "Wow, you're really powerful in the Force. We want you on our side," I'd be like, "Okay, let's look at the Jedi. Like, oh, Mace Windu's kind of cool. Mace Windu's kind of cool. Okay, Yoda's kind of weird, honestly. Like, if I'm in that universe, Yoda's kind of weird.
A little weird.
Luke's a bitch.
Luke's
so
a bitch.
that's the thing.
Yeah.
And then I look at the Siths and I'm just like, oh, Darth Maul's freaking insane. Like Darth Vader, yeah, boy. Like,
Okay, except my one complaint is that they're all hideously disfigured.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
clearly is
There's
just
no
results
good
of
looking
using-
Sith.
Yeah,
Like in
there
the
is.
in the cinematic, in like we're just taking the trilogy and both trilogies. Don't say.
I mean, it's gonna be
Anakin
like
Skywalker.
it's gonna be like
Don't say it.
it's gonna be like a Melisandre thing where yes, they can use their dark side powers to make them look beautiful, but it's just an illusion.
Well, and that's the entire right there is the entirety of the Sith right there, because every extremely powerful Sith that there's ever has always been able to see that their aesthetic appeal, and not just that, but other things, act as a chain holding them back from their true power. And that's why when you look at Darth Vader, when you look at Sidious, like let's real quick take Revenge of the Sith as an example. That fight between Mace Windu and Darth Sidious, okay, he legit could totally destroy Windu when he at any point, okay? But he allows Anakin to come in, and he allows himself to get injured and get disfigured, so that Anakin turns to the dark side and assists him, and then at that point, then his true power comes out and destroys Mace Windu, because he knows that his appeal and his aesthetic appeal now to Anakin is no longer there. Now he just sees him as a source of power.
can we talk about that scene real fast?
Yeah.
Really
Absolutely, absolutely.
That scene, Episode 3.
Yep.
Mace Windu and
Oh,
Fisto,
I know.
F. Koth,
I know.
and who else is there? There's another Jedi.
There's 3, because 3 show up with him, and
3 trained
like
Jedi.
elite
Yeah.
Jedi.
Elite Jedi of the Council.
Yeah.
Jedi Masters. Palpatine's just like, "Swing!" And they don't even react. They're not even like, oh, I got the defense.
The only one who does it first is
Kit.
Kifis, though.
Yeah.
But that's it.
But everyone else
even
is
still-
like, oh, I don't have like force sensitivity, or I don't
Well,
know how to react.
Betrayal.
Like,
to
It's
be
like-
fair, Gio's right. To be fair, Sidious had, and I can't refer to him as Palpatine because at that moment, when he pops out his lightsaber, at that moment he no longer is Palpatine. He is Darth Sidious of the true Sith.
you know,
and at that
I'm
moment,
glad you bring that up.
He has hid his true power and true potential so well, most likely through the use of Sith sorcery, because that's really the only way he could do that. So by using...
The Jedi have done it too.
Oh, there you go. By doing that, he's hid his power and his true potential so well that even elite Jedi don't know what they're going up against because he's been able to be this facade of a person the entire time. And so when it's time to reveal who he truly is and his true power, they can't react because it's too much for them. They've never had to fight such elite level dark side power.
Fine, but you knew where I was going.
No, I know where you're going because that scene is bullshit. Because if you follow any of those characters for any length of time in any of the other parts of Star Wars, you're like, what the shit? They got taken out with one swipe? That's BS. I wanted to see like 1 Sith versus 4 Jedi all at once, and then he demolishes fools.
It's just
I
like in
get it.
Clone Wars when they're on the ground doing the Coliseum fight.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
all the Jedi are running.
Yeah.
You see some of them get shot down by droids.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Right.
did you even train? Because I'm pretty sure I wouldn't die in that battle.
Sure.
Okay, so here's the thing about what you were just saying. Was anybody who was watching the movies actually like? I don't think anyone was surprised when you find out that Palpatine was gonna. Like,
No.
it's so obvious. It's like the first.
No, and that's not what I'm saying though. I mean, it's very obvious who the main villain is the entire time. That's true.
Mhm.
But if what I'm saying is from the character's perspective, like
Purely
as
from
one
the
of the
interaction.
Jedi going in, having no idea that all along the Supreme Chancellor is actually the evil Dark Lord of the Sith that you didn't know until just now. Okay, well we're gonna go in and we're gonna try to subdue him. But you don't know. You've never had to fight against someone that well trained in the dark side before.
Like, yes and no. They knew that Sheev Palpatine was the bad guy. They don't-
Palpatine.
Like they didn't know that he was Darth Sidious.
Exactly.
They didn't know any of that, but they knew for sure. They're like, that dude, he's sketch AF.
No,
That's why like we can't trust Anakin because Anakin hangs out with him, and that by proximity makes him sketch AF.
No, true that, and that's why they bring elite Jedi. But even those elite Jedi.
So you say elite Jedi and they just get
Okay,
wasted.
let me ask you this:
Okay.
at what point in any one of those 3 Jedi that showed up with Windu, at what point in any of their lives did they have to go and fight against a true Sith, a true disciple of
Okay,
the dark
so
side?
good point.
Okay.
That's the thing.
But here's the thing: is that they knew. Like, I mean, I guess they didn't like know for sure, but Mace Windu.
He's like,
Like,
yo,
he-
we gotta go up against a bad dude.
Well, the thing is, he was like, we're probably gonna go up against Anakin. Like, they're like, you're not Grandmaster, you're in with that Sheev Palpatine dude. There's a whole weird thing, and Anakin has proven himself time and time again to be like probably the best at lightsabers in all of forever. And like, I mean, at that point,
At that point, maybe.
and so like they know like bare minimum they're going up against a high level Jedi, one who ostensibly should be on the Jedi Council.
Fair, but here's one thing that I want to say in counter to that. How often the Jedi have to actually fight each other to the death? In their training...
Not often enough.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
In their training, how often do they have to go up against each other and fight each other, and it's either you or me?
Okay,
No,
So I think, first of all, I think that the Star Wars movies, you kind of have to do a little more of the suspension of disbelief thing. Especially for me, they compare to like Indiana Jones stuff, where you just have to assume that yes, he magically threw the whip in exactly the right spot, and the one random bullet hit the dynamite, whatever.
You're right, yeah.
So these things just kind of happen, I guess is the best way to put it. But I would agree that there's a lot of reasons why that's possible. One is that there is a previous, in the Star Wars history, extended universe stuff, there's multiple instances historically of Sith and Jedi completely hiding their identity from a bunch of other Sith or Jedi. Also, yes, I think that they probably don't express it the best in the movie, but even though those guys are super awesome elite soldiers, it's basically at a time when nobody fights Sith anymore, so they had no idea what the hell they were going up against.
Exactly.
And two, I think you're looking at a level difference. Unfortunately, when it came down to it, yeah, those guys were elite Jedi. They were all level 20s, but Palpatine was a level 100.
Like,
and so he just went,
no contest.
you know.
Because they have nothing to compare it to.
Yeah.
Dragon's exactly right.
So can we talk about what they gave Samuel L. Jackson to be in those first three? Well,
The purple
lightsaber.
lightsaber.
well, a purple lightsaber, and on that purple lightsaber it said "bad motherfucker," which I think is like the coolest.
Oh, you mean
thing.
his actual one that he
Yeah,
had? And
yeah.
okay. Yeah, that's
yeah,
true.
on the hilt.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It says badass motherfucker on
Yeah.
the
I
yeah.
heard the purple.
I love how just like hands off the approach was. It was literally he went and he's like, I like purple. Can I have a purple lightsaber? And they're just like, I don't care.
Yeah,
Just
why not?
hang out.
Fuck it, yeah.
You're Samuel L. Jackson.
You can have whatever you
See,
want.
at that point though, if I was in the movie, I'd be like, wait, I want a different color.
Yeah.
But you're not Samuel
Well, but
L.
he's Samuel L. Jackson.
That
So.
would be me too.
No, okay.
But it's just
So-
the special effects artist just changing the color.
I know.
Okay,
Why?
so how about
Why?
this?
Old Republic, all the colors.
Okay.
As soon as we get into cinematic universe, it's like,
Has
oh,
to
there's
be
green and blue.
green and blue.
Yeah.
Although I think, again, I really think that kind of comes down to the biggest problem I have in general with the prequels is just the fact that, like, George Lucas on his own was left with so much freedom and nobody to tell him no. I feel like that's really the biggest problem, and that's why there's a lot of wrong things with the prequels. Is like he's like coming off his high of doing so well not at first, but later on down the line with the original trilogy, and now he's like, well, I'm gonna make more, and I'm doing it all my own, and nobody can say anything about it. And as before, where he had a team of people that he had to talk back and forth with, being like, hey, this is my idea that I have. What do you think? Well, I don't know about that. Let's change this and this. As where with the prequels, he's just like, I don't care. I'm making so much money, and you all will pay the ticket price anyway, so I'm going to do whatever I want and don't have to check with anyone.
But a purple lightsaber isn't that. I feel like that's okay.
No, and that's an example of something where I was like, okay, not a bad thing to add. But an example of something that's terrible, Jar Jar Binks. Okay? Like, for example...
Okay, real fast.
Most cunning
He's
Sith Lord of all
obviously
time.
a Sith Lord. Yeah.
Jar Jar Binks, okay, I hear that of so much. You know, any Star Wars fan
Well,
is like,
but
Jar
then-
Jar Binks is
okay.
terrible. But like,
What's
he's not the worst in a movie. Like, there's so many other characters that are comedic reliefs.
Oh, yeah.
In
I don't
other
think
movies.
he's the worst Star Wars character.
No, he's
Who do you
not.
think is the worst Star Wars character?
C-3PO.
No, you're wrong about that.
I'm actually.
He's a good second.
Worst character in all of Star Wars is Shmi. Worst.
Oh.
Can't stand her.
Nobody's
When
gonna...
she's on
You need
screen.
to explain that to the
She's
group,
pretty
though.
terrible, yeah. I've heard this one, and your reasons are very good.
Yeah, your reasoning for that is good, but you
No
need
one
to explain
cares
that
about
But nobody
for...
I know,
cares
no one
about
cares
her.
about her.
So, like, if
Yeah.
she sucks, it doesn't matter. Jar Jar.
If it's not
Makes
C-3PO,
me wanna
it's Luke
pour-
Skywalker.
Well,
Hot wax
okay,
down my
here's...
ear.
I
You
mean...
need to watch episode 6 again, Dragon, because Luke Skywalker transformed from episode 4 to episode 6.
becomes somebody...
Luke is the most powerful Jedi you've
A
ever
lot
seen.
of that attributes to he got better acting coaches as it went on.
Okay, so that's the thing,
Wasn't
is
talking
that
about
Luke
that.
Skywalker is probably the worst part, Ewoks included, of that movie.
See, Ewoks aren't bad either.
But I don't
I
really...
just want to get you guys'
But I don't like episode 6. Like, episode 6 is probably my least favorite Star Wars movie, Luke Skywalker being
Okay,
a big part of that. He's horrible.
You're wrong.
I'm going to counter that because it is the best to me for 2 words, and that is Slave Leia. 100%.
I mean, that's
Killing Jabba the Hutt
While
at
wearing
the Sarlacc pit
that
while wearing Slave Leia outfit.
Which is totally fine.
I mean,
I just don't know
it's
how
bad.
she had the strength to do that. It is
It's
badass,
like
but...
fine.
She's got the Force.
She doesn't know yet.
The only thing I
feel
don't like
it's
about
still-
that-
it'll still add to your
If that's
strength a
true,
little bit.
Gio, if that's true, if she innately has the Force, why didn't Darth Vader sense that she was his daughter?
Because
from
she got a
episode
lot slower.
No,
Slow
it's a recessive trait. It doesn't necessarily hit every generation. Now, there's definitely evidence that she's vaguely force sensitive,
Yeah.
but she's not like necessarily Jedi trained.
But I
No,
feel like anyone that has it.
But also though, because the only reason that Vader and Sidious have the idea that Luke is Anakin's offspring is because his Force abilities start to awaken in Episode 4.
Do you think maybe
Yeah.
they're really focused on him and they you don't see her because she's in the splash? Maybe they do sense it, but when they sense it, it's around him.
Yeah.
Possibly.
mean,
Yeah,
there's
that would-
actually a couple of interesting moments that are exactly that, where he's like, "Oh, I sense the strength over here," and it's like, "Oh, well, Leia happens to be right there."
Yeah, he's like, oh, there's just, Luke's in that ship, and it's like, well, so
But
is Leia,
so's
right?
Leia.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a good point that I hadn't considered.
At that Starlight Pit scene, by the way,
Yes. Hold on. Don't go where I think you're going with this.
where am I going with this?
Don't.
Yeah, that's where I'm going
No,
with this.
no. If you say it, I'll walk out of this podcast.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Are we
Okay.
talking about the most disappointing death of?
Yes.
No. Well,
No.
yes and no.
Yes.
I'm more talking about Han Solo.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Now I know where you're going with this.
They made him the comedic relief for that scene.
I know.
Sure.
Chewie's like, does it, yeah, and then Han's like,
Boba Fett. Boba Fett.
Word! And then just like, boom, his jetpack, like, it's like, that's a cheap. That's so.
Well, and here's the thing too. Okay. All right. I really do have to take the
That
reins on
entire
this one.
sequence didn't make sense.
No, it didn't.
Yeah, it was
No, it
terrible.
didn't. And here's the thing. I'm gonna go on my rant because my boy, Boba Fett. Okay. I have always, from the time I was a child, been enamored with.
Real fast.
Okay.
I just want to know,
Yes, sir.
taking all the movies together
Uh huh.
and every game, Battlefront, right?
Sure.
Who do you actually prefer, Django or Boba?
Are you talking like if I can play them or as a character themselves?
Like, if you were like, if I could be one of those guys,
Mhm.
I know, yeah, it's a clone, but
Sure.
but they have their
If I,
differences.
okay. Okay.
Yeah,
So,
one's tormented by his father's death.
well, one. Okay. They.
I'm just
even
saying, who's
though-
cooler to you?
Well, okay. Even though Boba is a genetic replica of Django, they are completely separate people
Exactly.
as far as their character and their personality and every other aspect. The only thing that makes them the same is that they are literally the same genetic. Exactly. But they are completely different people because if I look at Django Fett, I see now. If we're looking at also comics and books, if we're taking the totality of Star Wars, I see the boy that Jaster Murillo took in as his son and raised him in the Mandalorian way, who then went on to become Mandalore for a brief period. And then afterwards, when all things went to hell, became a bounty hunter. And then through the events of actually the gameplay that we're watching, I actually think this is a fun game because it kind of explains how all of that bit came to be and how the clones are actually genetic the DNA was taken from Django to make the clone army, which is just so cool in my opinion. So
Django was an actual Mandalore at one point.
Yes.
He was the Mandalore.
he
I
at
didn't know
one
that.
point, and I'm not 100% if it's canon anymore, but at one
It's
point
not.
he
It's
was. I didn't think so. At one point he was Mandalore for a time,
Right, yeah.
and then there was a big issue with when there was the Splinter faction with the Death Watch.
Oh,
Then once they started to come in, then he wasn't, and there was a big internal civil war, like there always is with my people, but whatever. But so I'm looking at Django Fett. I look at one of the truest Mandalorian warriors that I've ever seen. Okay, and then when I look at Boba, okay, I see a boy who had his father do the same thing his adopted father did for him and teach him the ways to be Mandalorian, but because his father was taken from him in the dumbest way possible, other than his own eventual death, quote unquote, he didn't get the chance to truly learn and to truly become an actual Mandalorian until you go past Episode 6 and in the not canon, how he does survive through the Starlight Pit. Then I get to see his... Exactly. Then I get to see Boba's rise to becoming a true Mandalorian and eventually Mandalore himself. Now, if you're asking me who I prefer, in the end, I probably will choose Boba. Just because of everything I've read and everything I've seen, his development as a character, I think personally, is better overall than Django's. Just as, for personal preference. And I have the tattoo for it, so I kind of have to say also.
Yeah.
But if we're talking, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. I was gonna say that I prefer Boba. Just there's an aesthetic to it. It's like this ruined armor. It's like this scavenge thing. It's like building yourself up from garbage to put forth that greatness and that fear.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
The shiny chromeness of Django Fett. It doesn't have that same heart, that same character.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you pick up that helmet and you're like, oh, my father's head's in here. Take that out real quick, just clean it up, put it on my head.
Well, duh. That's the Mandalorian way.
Yeah, exactly.
That is the Mandalorian way. I mourn my father, but I burn his corpse so I can have his.
I mean, I guess that's how like Kylo Ren kind of works too. He's like,
kinda.
hey,
I'm
here's
saying,
my
yeah.
grandfather's half-burnt helmet shrine that don't worry, Grandpa, I'm gonna finish what you start. Anakin's like rolling in his grave at that point. He's
Basically.
like, I changed. I good.
But let me real quick. Let's go back real fast to the bullshit death of Boba Fett. Okay.
Yeah.
I do want to, because here's the thing. Forgetting everything else. Okay. Forgetting all of the books, all of the non-canon material, and even some of the canon material, as like the Clone Wars TV show and whatnot.
I
Forgetting
hate
all
that
of
that's
that.
canon now.
I know it is. I know, but forgetting all of that. Okay. Boba Fett is played up as basically the best bounty hunter in the galaxy.
Yeah.
Or at least one of the most
Yeah.
elite bounty hunter, right? And
real fast.
Yeah,
the
never
comic,
shows it.
yeah.
comic number 1,
Mhm.
Darth Vader.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
Of what is canon now, being published by Marvel.
Yep.
Darth Vader goes to recruit bounty hunters to find a Skywalker.
Mhm.
Okay. He ends up not hiring Boba Fett because he's like, that guy too good.
Yeah. Exactly. Okay. Now,
Doesn't make any sense, but
here's the idea.
Well, read the comic because it's like he hires this really cool like black furred Wookiee
Mhm.
and like Bosk. Like,
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
But he's in Jabba's palace and he just like walks in, and
Mhm.
he's like, I need a bounty hunter to find a Skywalker, and Jabba, of course, who doesn't answer to anyone,
Right.
is now like, ooh, do whatever you want. Like,
Yeah. Oh, Vader, come on.
yeah. And he's like, well, I got Boba Fett right here, and he's
Yeah.
like, no,
No.
I don't mess with Boba Fett.
I don't. Yeah. Well, and see that. Okay. The only example that I'm actually going to use, just to be fair, for the movie's sake, is his interactions with Darth Vader in Episode 5. Okay, Boba Fett's interactions with Darth Vader throughout Episode 5. When you see them on screen together, there is a begrudging respect for one another. They have no love between them, but there is a respect because Vader sees Boba as not a threat, but as someone who is a damn good operator. Someone who can get the job done, who he asked among other elite bounty hunters to find Han Solo, and he was the only one who knew him well enough to find and capture, okay?
He's like, hey, you're that kid that your dad died in that battle. I was there.
I was there. Ooh, awkward. But, so, looking at that, I'm like, cool. And we get to see a little bit of Boba's, actual kind of soldiery and warriorness when he, like, all the other stormtroopers are going away, and Luke is walking in, and they're in Cloud City. Luke's walking in, everyone's going away, and Boba's like, what was that? And then he starts to fire at Luke. So we know that Boba at least is a competent soldier. At the very least. We know he's competent, we know he has situational awareness, we know that he's good at what he does. Okay?
In the books that are non-canon now,
Right, exactly.
Boba goes up against Vader.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay? But just taking those couple scenes, I'm like, okay, they've played Boba Fett up to be good at what he does at the very least. Only to turn around in the next movie and have him die by
a blind man.
By a blind man, basically.
That's confused.
Which is it is the dumbest thing, because I'm like, you've played him up in the short amount of time that we've seen him to be at least good at what he does, and you're gonna let him go out like that?
See,
I have
that's
such a problem with that.
I mean, I totally agree. That always bothered me as well. I never particularly liked that. But that goes back to what I was saying about the Indiana Jones effect. It's
Right.
like that's what happens in,
You have to
in these
accept it.
movies.
You just
They're like,
have to, yeah.
it's like George Lucas was kind of Disney before they actually were Disney movies.
Right.
Because they always had that like, oh well, the hero rolled a 20.
Right, yeah. Boom.
Critical hit.
Absolutely.
So.
And they kind of do the same thing to Django Fett too, to be fair. Also, now I know
Yeah,
Django
absolutely.
goes up against Mace. Okay, I get that. He's a very elite
But
Jedi.
break down that scene.
Okay, thank you.
Mace is running
Okay,
at him.
here's the thing. So their fight starts. So they start to go at it. Okay, well, Django's kind of firing off
Django's
some
like-
shots. Okay, super cool. Okay, but they get interrupted by I forget whatever that rhino dinosaur thing.
Yeah, the rhino dinosaur thing
Okay.
totally throws Django off.
Totally throws up his game. Okay, almost tramples him. Django's got to kill it real quick.
And he does.
And he does. And duh, obviously. Okay. And he can't use his jetpack because his jetpack got trampled on by that dinosaur rhino thing. And then Mace comes in and kills him. Now, here's the thing. I can totally accept Django's death, but only if I saw Mace Windu be like dash forward, head slice, one cool force move. That's the only way I can accept it.
He runs at him like
from
Robin
20 yards away
on Injustice 2 doing that run across the screen.
Yeah.
He's just like, I'ma come at you.
Like Django can see it coming. It's like
Django just stands
when
there.
they directed that scene, it's like George told whatever the actor's name is. I don't actually know who it is. I feel really bad. It's like they told him, just stand there and pretend like you're gonna shoot at him and let him cut your head off. Like, what?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? Because like 30 minutes ago, an hour ago, I saw him go up against Obi-Wan Kenobi.
So I got wrist rockets, flamethrowers. I got
I have so many weapons at my disposal.
I had those slugs still. Or...
Yeah, everything at my disposal. Okay, you want me to stand here?
Yeah.
And pretend? Okay.
Okay, I'm just gonna stand here and get my head cut off. Is what you want? Okay, Mr. Lucas.
Pretty much, if you were an awesome Mandalorian bounty hunter,
you get
Star Wars just writes you off. They're like, hey, in that one movie he was so cool, but he's gonna die now, and he's gonna be retarded.
Actually, that is actually how it goes down. All right, I'm off my death soapbox. We can change the subject. Thank you.
Well, death like that can ruin a movie. That's what pissed me off so much about not changing universes or what we're talking about. But that's what pissed me off so much about Dark Knight Rises, the third Christopher Nolan Batman movie, is Bane is a super badass guy the whole time, and then in the end, Catwoman shows up and shoots him with the guns on Batman's fight.
No,
and you're just like,
for
are
real.
you kidding me?
Are you joking? You played him up to be so cool.
Yeah.
And now you're just, I agree. I totally agree with you, Gio.
Yeah, that would have been just slightly better, or all that much better, is if he had gotten back up and bleeding out, kicked Batman and Catwoman's ass for 10 minutes, and then just bled out.
Yeah.
Actually, that would have been better, yeah. See, and if we relate it back to the Django and Boba thing, if they had done something like that, just taking Django for example, if he had gotten his face smashed or his chest plate smashed by the rhino dinosaur, and he was obviously couldn't run away, and all he could do was fire back.
But he stood up and was ready.
He was ready to accept his death as a warrior.
I will die here, but I am going to.
This is my choice.
A Jedi Master.
Exactly. If they had done it that way, I wouldn't have complained at all. I'd been okay, he got a warrior's death. I'm happy with it. But no.
Do you know why I can add more to the complaint? Django Fett went up against Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Obi-Wan Kenobi!
He didn't necessarily win that battle.
No, but
he
held his own.
Lose, though.
No, he
got
his own.
away.
Yeah,
okay.
He survived.
Off the death.
I'm sorry.
Does Mace Windu have
the Mandalorian podcast?
Windu, does he have the mind obfuscation ability? Because he could have been stunned as he ran up. That's the thing in Knights of the Old Republic. You can cast stun on somebody.
But we hadn't seen him ever use that.
If he was using
before.
that, the movie didn't
make
it clear enough.
They need a little
special. They should have been. He should have been
on this year's reissue of it, because they reissue those movies all the time.
They'll digitally remaster it. They'll put that in there.
Good. They just need to do. I'll pay them whatever they want. They just need to give him a better death just for me. It's fine. All right. So now we can change subjects.
What do you want to talk about, Gio?
So what I liked about Rogue One was it felt like a standalone.
It's a great movie, but Django Fett's death.
You guys like this?
I agree with you, Gio.
I like that it felt it was kind of a standalone. Obviously it followed the storyline, but it got wrapped up in one movie, and it was nice. So, how do we feel about the Han Solo movie?
No way.
No.
There's basically no way it can be good.
Wait, why
Basically,
now?
yeah.
Okay, so again, it's the same reasons that I was complaining for really the entirety of the Star Wars franchise, but especially Rogue One. It's not there's already so much established, and for them to try and make this whole thing, and they're probably going to try and explain the whole parsec reference and everything like that.
I want to see the Kessel Run.
I mean, I do too. But the thing is that they're just
actually very interesting history surrounding the Kessel Run. That's a fascinating part.
Yeah, because it's weaving through black holes and stuff. Anyway, whole other thing. But the thing is it's going to fit so awkwardly within the other movies, like, I'm convinced at this point, it's, again, because that's what they've been doing recently.
Well, yeah, keep going.
So
I'm sorry.
this is what it comes down to. Is it going to be directed by Joss Whedon? Because if it's directed by Joss Whedon, it's going to be awesome.
It's true.
My thing
That
is
a really
this.
good point.
Okay, my thing is this. Who asked for that? Now, I know nobody asked for Episode 7 or Rogue One either, but who was
I
like...
did.
Oh, you were one of
When
one.
when Episode
No.
6 ended, and
No.
that was like the write-off of Star Wars.
No, I'm
Yeah.
not saying that. I'm saying, because guaranteed they had to have had like teams of people where they're like, okay, here's ideas for our Star Wars stories that we're gonna come out with in between the episodic movies, right? And someone's like, oh, what if we do like Rogue One? What if we do like in between New Hope and Revenge of the Sith? That'd be kind of cool. Who in the room was like, oh, I want to see Han Solo when he was young? I saw that in Episode 4. He was rugged and handsome and a murderer and also a smuggler, and I already know what young Han Solo looked like.
Okay.
Right, so, yeah.
So, this is a way for Disney to make money. And
Obviously.
it's just, they're cashing in and, like, trying to milk this thing for all it's worth, which will probably ruin it. Long run, eventually it will ruin it.
This might be like, even if it's good, it will probably be the worst of the newer ones to come out.
So,
regardless of what you think of all of the other ones. The other
worried
two.
about it. I'm not like, but as someone who loves specific like actors and their acting ability, which I know you guys don't really care about as much, we're gonna get Donald Glover as
said that?
Lando,
That's
which
great.
I am so excited
Donald
about.
Glover's awesome.
And then we're getting Amelia Clarke, who is
We
Daenerys
hired Joss
Targaryen,
Whedon.
who's like the love of my life. So I'm optimistic for those characters and what they're gonna bring to it, and certain aspects, what we're gonna get. But also, it's highly unnecessary.
I don't know. I just feel like Rogue One, as much as I enjoyed it for its self-contained goodness, it was really 2 hours to explain away a plot hole that nobody really cared about. It was just fun to make fun of, like, oh, they got like the exhaust port. It's like a huge weakness, and it was like fun to poke fun at, but nobody really cared. And like, let's take 2 hours and like all this production time to explain that. It was really unnecessary. So yeah, I'm kind of with Ryan on this one, where it's just like, who asked for that when we could have a movie about a Mandalorian warrior, because that would be good. Or something like, with a lot of Episode 7, they're like, hey, we made all this extended universe stuff not canon, but we're going to take the good bits and just call it our own. And they could have done that with like the Force Unleashed, because at its core, there was some cool stuff we found in Force Unleashed.
Oh yeah.
Especially like
Absolutely.
its like early conceptualized phase. Like in like the beginning, the whole concept was, hey, Anakin wasn't the chosen one. Everybody thought he was because he was made purely out of the Force, and like, well, he's like so Force adept that he must be the chosen one. And then he wasn't. It was actually Galen Merrick, Starkiller, and so it's like the clash of the actual chosen one versus like this like accidental imposter chosen one. And like there was like cool stuff conceptually there, and that was a much more interesting bridge for me between 3 and 4. Especially like there were even within the final product really awesome moments, like the opening, Darth Vader on Kashyyyk just tearing it up.
Yeah.
Awesome stuff. There's just so much more interesting content than, but yeah, everybody makes fun of our exhaust port. Like, but Han Solo is like a handsome rogue. Like, okay, we get it. I don't make me like a 15-minute YouTube video or something if you really have to explore it.
But again, I think that the general audience aren't the people that sat there and read every terminal in Knights of the Old Republic. The general audience is like,
The
well, Han
regular
Solo's
people.
cool. Yeah.
Let's see more about it.
Yeah,
Well then,
the
but
people that are actually paying for these movies to be made just want to see
If that's
Boba
the
Fett
route-
movie, Darth Vader movie, Han Solo movie.
if that's the route they want to go, because like the newer people that are making the newer people that are giving the money to make these things, if that's the route they want to go, okay, give me an Obi-Wan Kenobi standalone movie then. Make it something
Oh,
legit.
that's
Yeah.
And Ewan McGregor wants to do that.
I
Yeah,
know.
Yeah, but
he
there's
was
still
a
a
great
potential for that.
Obi-Wan.
There's still a potential for that.
Hell
A
yes.
Qui-Gon movie would be cooler, because the thing is that
Yeah, I would actually be okay with
he was
that.
this respected master at the earliest point in the chronology that is canon at this point,
Mhm.
and then he is the one who invented the technique to come back as a Force ghost.
Yeah.
Plus-
So like,
So, Jar
Liam
Jar Binks
Neeson.
movie.
Yes.
Actually, no, wait. On that note,
Well,
I
mass
would be
suicides
okay
in theaters.
with, because I don't like Jar Jar, but I like the Gungans.
Right.
The
They're
Gungans
cool.
as a race, I always thought were super cool.
They have force field dinosaurs.
They do, and they have little like destructo balls that they lob at droids. That's super cool.
That
They
war
effective.
on Naboo,
Yeah.
where they're fighting the droids,
Super
is
cool.
awesome.
Take all the parts out of
they
Jar Jar.
throw Jar Jar
Yeah.
and being like, "Oh, I'm tripping over stuff, and I just blew up a tank."
All by
Like,
accident.
Take that out. And
Take that out, and the Gungans are actually super
Because
cool.
Jar Jar gets promoted.
Which
Which he's like, they're like, "Oh man, Jar Jar, dude, like general."
We make you as a general. That was not a good Gungan accent at all.
I want to hear your Gungan leader. Can you do that?
With the Gungan, like the
You have to
the
shake
big
your jaw.
the big boss man.
Yeah.
What's the
Is it
line?
Boss
Hold,
Moss?
it's what's the line? He's like, because he's talking to Padme, and he's like,
You all think you better.
Lisa, think we can be friends.
That's alright.
It's all right. I haven't seen episode 1 in a while. It's my least favorite. So.
Whoa.
Okay.
Oh,
No, wait. To defend myself.
Young Padme?
Yeah.
She's an angel.
Now that's pod racing.
She's just a cinnamon roll, that girl. No.
I
Okay.
like pod racing. Pod
Pod
racing
racing
is
is
or
the best.
that shit was
Dude,
awesome.
with the
Okay.
two controllers set up?
Okay.
What?
With
Okay.
the 2 controller setup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, alright, in defense of episode 1, okay? The pod racing was cool, Darth Maul was amazing,
Yes.
a young Obi-Wan Kenobi was cool, all the lightsaber action super awesome, but the thing that kinda kills it, for me, in general,
I already know what you're gonna say.
well, you
I already
think
know
I
what
do.
you're gonna say.
You think
no,
I do.
I already know
The storytelling of that movie was very inconsistent. I was very confused. Like, even as a kid, I'm like, because I wore the tapes out so much of the original trilogy. Like, we had to buy more. I watched them that much. And watching episode 1, even as a kid, I was like, wait, but what? But I thought, wasn't Yoda Obi-Wan Kenobi's master? I'm really confused, Mom. And then to see, so the storytelling kind of inconsistent and confused the crud out of me. And then,
Don't say it.
I'm about to.
Don't say
Get
it.
ready.
You're ruining
Little Orphan Annie.
Yeah.
Little Orphan Annie.
Do it.
Tried.
Ruins
Do
It
it.
was awful.
He's
ruins it.
solid third worst actor in the Star Wars movies.
Ever. Like,
Darth Maul died too soon.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. But he died in a really cool
He did.
way.
But it
But
just
it
makes
is.
sense because he had the high ground.
Yeah. Which we all know is a
Like Star Wars is just known for bad acting, you know?
Yes,
It's just-
it really is, yeah.
Hey,
You
little
gotta look
Anakin,
past it.
you are
That's the thing.
free of being a slave now.
Yippee!
But that's the thing. It's like
Were they putting a teleprompter in front of him the whole time?
I don't know. I don't know. But what kills?
What was his face? Sebulba, though?
No, Watto.
Sebulba?
Yeah.
Oh wait, Sebulba, the pod
the
racer.
crazy pod
Yeah,
racer. Is like, what, da, 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 da.
yeah, yeah.
I love that. shit
Slightly
as a kid.
racist,
Just
yeah.
like, just that pod racer, I was like, that thing's badass.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my thing with Star Wars as a franchise, as everybody in this room, I will watch every movie that comes out, but that's because basically at this point, I just really love episode 4 so much that like the association with it, I'm willing to like spill out onto the other movies. And I feel like that's probably true of a lot of people, like not necessarily with episode 4, they're like, oh, I love the underboob in episode 2 so much that I'm willing to watch the rest of the movies. Like
So, and for me, it really comes down to force powers and lightsabers.
Yeah.
Are so cool that I will watch all 12 of these absolutely terrible movies. Because for the most part, I'm sorry, that's probably being a little overly harsh, but for the most part, I really don't like any of the Star Wars films. I think they're all kind of crap. They're okay. They're not like terrible
I think
films.
most of them are bad.
Yeah.
Lion, you're sitting close enough. Can you just smack him?
I'm afraid if I do
They're
that
not,
happen.
they're not the worst movies I've ever seen. They're not like the Fast and the Furious franchise, but they're like slightly better than the Fast and the Furious franchise.
I'm okay. See, I'm okay with Dragon's point of view, and I'm also okay with Worm's point of view. That's okay because Star Wars doesn't strike the chord with them that it does for like us, Jay and Gio. Like when we like, I cry like a bitch when a new one comes out. When there's a good moment, I will legitimately cry because it is so intricately tied into who I am as an individual. Like that's just.
Speaking of a new one coming out in a good moment, that just made me think. I'm just like Darth Vader speaking to Krennic and just being like, don't choke on your aspirations.
Yeah.
Oh, I was like,
What you mean in the first and the only really good movie? Fight me. Alright, so I'm gonna put this out there. From best to worst, episode 4, episode 5, Rogue One, episode 6, episode 1, episode 3, episode 2, episode 7.
It's too complicated for me to follow.
Yeah.
I had
Probably
to
said
get
episode
mine.
way too many times.
So-
You said
But-
episode, yeah.
Alright, so to run back through just numbers. 4 is better than 5, Rogue One, 6, 3, 1, 2, 7. 7 being absolute garbage.
That's basically backwards of what I would say, but yeah, just
So-
about. A few things mixed around. But
7 did the good things that the first, or like the newer trilogy should have done, which was not go too crazy with the CGI and like
They kept
actually make
practical
it feel
effects,
yeah.
realistic.
That's one of the things it had going for it.
Best lightsaber battles.
We'll be here a while.
I really
is
enjoyed some of the ones in
episode
7.
3.
Episode 3.
And 3 is good too, but they feel so over the top. And like, I know that's
No,
not the
I'm with
best.
Gio.
Obi-Wan and Anakin fighting Count Dooku?
That was badass.
That, you'd think.
That was badass.
Here's
so
okay.
I probably got to go with the Darth Maul fight with
Darth Maul versus
Qui-Gon.
And like when
Kenobi,
Qui-Gon just like
Kenobi,
sits and he's
yeah.
like waiting for like.
Yeah, that
And
one.
I love that.
Oh, yeah.
Meditates,
Oh,
You
yeah,
know
he
the
just
ones in
sits
the
down
background
and
just like
meditates.
waiting.
Yeah. Oh man. Oh, because you see Maul, and see that right there is so indicative of what's the difference
The
between
whole thing,
Jedi
yeah.
and Sith right there.
There you go.
Because one of them, because Qui-Gon knows he has a quiet reprieve, so he's going to sit and he will meditate
Because
so
that's
he
his
can.
strength is to bring
he is-
himself to peace.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Maul's
Darth Maul
strength
has
is
to keep the rage.
Exactly.
He's gotta
He
keep
has
it
to
up.
stay angry. He has to
Yeah.
prowl like he's a predator so he can continue to be furious so his strength is still at its utmost
Yeah.
furious. I love that
Back
scene.
to Gio.
I was
so-
just talking about just.
Wait, what was the best
What was your
lightsaber fight?
favorite? Yeah.
Most favorite lightsaber fight. I want to hear.
I thought you were going to go
some of
somewhere
the
with episode
ones in-
7 or something.
I like some of the ones in 7. Like I liked Kylo
Yeah.
versus like Rey and Finn in the end. Like that was.
When
No.
Rey
Yes.
force grabs
Yeah.
the lightsaber
And you're just
I
like,
kinda-
oh.
and blows Kylo's mind. And
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I gotta be honest, I kind of hate that fight.
Yeah, same.
I mean,
Now,
fair.
I've heard some good arguments as to why it works,
Well,
including Kylo's like injury and
Yeah.
stuff like that,
I
which I
knew
hadn't
that.
necessarily considered before.
I knew that you would go there,
And-
which is fun.
And there's some good arguments as to why it works, but for me, when it really comes down to it, you cannot take an amateur sword fighter and put them up against a trained sword fighter. It's like in no way competitive. Like it's not even close to competitive. Like an amateur can't even touch a professional, a trained sword fighter. Again, Star Wars universe, amateurs roll 20s, professionals roll 1s.
Although
it happens all the time.
now
But-
bringing
And
up the
also,
point.
Rey is the biggest Mary Sue and garbage character in the history of forever.
I'm sorry,
Which
can't
I
agree
totally
with that.
disagree with. I love
I
Rey.
can't.
Rey's
agree with
Rey
that.
is the most
Well,
redeeming thing in the Star Wars universe to date.
Agreeing with what Dragon just said. Okay, I get it, and that's it. You're absolutely right. Now they do. I think they try their best though with the whole when he gets shot with Chewie's bowcaster.
Right.
They really do try their best to make that
Yeah,
like
because you were the one that made the argument.
Yep.
Because you were like, dude, that freaking bowcaster
it
was
destroys
blowing
worlds
crap up.
basically.
Yeah,
And
blowing
well,
stuff
and
up.
see that was
And Kylo's just kind of like,
yeah.
oh.
well exactly. He
Which
just
shows
walks it
how
up.
awesome he is.
Exactly,
Yeah, he's
and
like
that's
just
the
walking
whole
out.
thing too. Because in the film, in 7, they make a point, like they make a point to showcase how destructive Chewie's bowcaster actually is. Because Han
Right.
uses it not once but twice
Yeah.
to like
Even
blow
comments
him
on
up.
it.
Exactly, and
Yeah.
so they make that point because when you see Kylo kill Han, and then Chewie just screams in rage and shoots him, and Kylo gets hit, but he can still keep going and even defeat Finn in a fight.
Yeah.
Then and people gave that's a good point too, Jay. The scene
I like
where they
that.
are fighting and he
Powers
has to hit himself in the wound.
Because again,
It's
it
back to the
built
Darth Maul.
dark side
Exactly.
powers, yeah,
It
which I
has
love,
to come
yeah.
from pain and rage.
Best fight in 7
I like Kylo.
was the
Me too.
traitor guy.
Yeah.
The traitor.
Traitor!
Yeah.
You mean what's his call sign? FN2187. So his would be FN2188.
Also, good
He
things
was
about
literally the
7.
next one in line. Is that the thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, the thing is, they were they were part of
Yeah.
the same 4-man fire team.
Oh,
Yeah.
shit.
That's why there's the the hatred when he comes in and he sees Finn. He's like, he yells traitor because he was his buddy. Right, exactly. He was part of their squad. And when he sees him, that's when he throws away his blaster and he pops out the I don't even know what the weapon is, but Tonfa, like electrified Tonfa. He busts it out to fight him one-on-one because he has so much hatred for him.
And I honestly, like, that is probably one of the only things in 7 that, like, grasped me, and I'm like, that's cool right there, was, like, the emotion. Like, you heard that trooper hate and hurt. Like, is, like, it broke my heart. I'm like, no, I want the trooper to win, because his feelings are very important to me right now.
Yeah, true that.
It's fighting for honor.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. Okay.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I did remember the very first time Finn has the lightsaber and he ignites it for the first time and then he stabs the stormtrooper. I really enjoyed that because if you looked closely, you saw the saber go through the stormtrooper's back and it just cracks the armor and disintegrates what it goes through. I love that because the whole time we see the lightsaber as this. And it's a plasma-based sword, basically. Right. And in Episode 1, Qui-Gon, he sticks it into the Durasteel door, and it just burns everything. Yeah. And we think it just burns through things. It doesn't just burn, and it doesn't just cauterize. It penetrates. That scene when Finn stabs the stormtrooper all the way through, they make such a point. The CGI department really made a point to show how destructive of a weapon this is, not just on a grand scale, but on a small scale. And that, for me, made it really cool, because then I related the lightsaber in that moment a lot more to a sword. Because if you took an actual sword and did something like that, the result would be somewhat similar, I think, at least.
Okay, so I got a couple of random questions here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Are we still going?
Yeah, we're still going.
Okay. So lightsaber setups. What's your lightsaber build? You don't get one. You're a Mandalorian.
Well, what are you asking me exactly?
Full coder rules. Again, I'm serious about the coder thing. Full coder rules. Are you a single weapon fighter, dual weapon fighter? Do you do the double-ended Darth Maul style? Okay. And then
single blade, double blade, dual.
Yeah, single blade, double blade. And then are you defensive or are you offensive? Do you focus on force powers? Do you focus on lightsaber skill? All that. Oh, and the color. Yeah, that's important.
I dual wield.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
offensive, but force is where I'd more be at. I have the dual lightsabers as more a menacing thing. Okay. I whip them out and you're like, oh snap. But then my force ability is just so grand that I don't even have to I just look at you. Similar to Luke Skywalker in Episode 6.
Right.
Gotcha.
And then color-wise, that's really hard for me, just because coming down to it, a darker shade of green is my favorite color.
Okay.
Not the lightsaber green.
Right.
And then next to that, I really like blue, but I don't want a rocket green and blue lightsaber.
Right. Yeah.
It's hard for me to say. And in any of the games, I had one of each color just because I had to. I wanted to see them all in action.
Right. Yeah.
I honestly think I would rock one blue and one red.
Okay.
So.
Okay. That's cool.
So here's a question: what controls the length of a lightsaber?
Oh, do you want to say it or should I?
Well, I don't know what you're gonna say because I'm it's light.
Yeah, we probably have different answers for that.
It should just go forever.
It's not light. It's not light.
It's light.
Plasma.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
So
well,
they should call it a plasma
plasma
saber, but that doesn't sound as cool.
So plasma. Okay, it's plasma saber. That's actually pretty cool. I like plasma saber.
It does sound pretty cool, but
really,
yeah.
That's cool. Okay.
So tell me.
So the lightsaber is actually a physical manifestation of the Jedi's force potential channeled through a Kandarian crystal, which is part of that. We're going to have discrepancies here because there are multiple explanations for how the lightsaber works. That's my explanation because that's the way that I learned it. Unfortunately, that doesn't account for non-Jedi being able to fire up a lightsaber.
And why isn't Anakin's the longest lightsaber that extends out into forever, given that he is made out of midichlorians?
Because you also get to choose that. When you're building your lightsaber, you choose whether you want a longer one, a stockier one, because there's different offensive and defensive stat changes that happen in accordance with that. So he would choose he has more control than anybody else to create exactly the lightsaber that he would want.
So for me then, to answer your question, I think I would dual wield, and I would actually want like a shorter, both of them to be pretty short, and
So
like,
that is a thing in code.
like,
Well, and just, I mean, using the films as an example, Yoda's is a lot smaller compared to a normal. Well, no, but that's what I'm saying. Is like Yoda's is a lot smaller, which makes sense given his stature.
Even though he obviously could have.
Because he has like some of the most powerful force powers.
I want mine to be like shorter, dual wield, but I also want it to be. I want to seem like unmenacing compared to the rest of them, but be super surprising and quick and like murderous.
So
You're going backhand. I saw some backhand maneuvering with your hands here, like Mantis style.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of like Raphael from Ninja Turtles, just with a little.
With the sigh.
Yeah.
Man, when you said Raphael, I thought you meant the painter.
Well, just
I would do the classic, just single weapon fighter type lightsaber. It'd be red. If I could have any scope of fictitious and possible colors, it would be like black light. Black lightsaber would be the.
I mean,
that's a thing.
Several games.
Well, I know I'm a Mandalorian and I don't get a lightsaber, but I can have the dark saber.
Yeah.
I do want to know what kind of hilt style. Like, would you go more traditional, or would you go like Count Dooku's like curve?
No, I don't buy that kind of stuff. I think it would be a traditional kind of straight handled. It would probably be a longer hilt than people were used to, so that I could alternate. Because I would want a longer blade as well, and I'd want to alternate between one and two.
Just because the introduction of the cross hilt in Episode 7, mine would have a cross hilt.
Yeah.
Well, and as we saw in the film, you know that I was the biggest skeptic of that of all.
No, you're the one that told me how it works.
Well, no, I know, but at first I was a huge skeptic of it because, for one very simple reason. Let me take another one of your lightsabers. Here was my biggest issue.
Real fast, whose lightsaber are you holding right now?
Oh.
Can you identify it?
Vader's.
Oh.
Yeah, Vader's. Yeah.
No, I knew. It's okay. I know my stuff. So, but okay, here was the biggest issue that I had with the cross-hilt lightsaber at first. It was this. A traditional sword that has a hilt, what you do if someone attacks you is you use the hilt defensively to catch their blade.
Mm-hmm.
Now, my biggest concern with the cross-hilt lightsaber was that these metal pieces that jut out with the two side blades on the hilt, if they're not made of a saber-resistant metal, then the lightsaber can be easily cut through if it's hit at just the right angle.
Right.
But from seeing from the film, it looks like that wasn't as big of an issue. And also, too, I don't know exactly what details they went in when they wanted to design it, but that's where they went. That was my biggest concern. And then also, too, I thought, well, if the outer layer of that metal is only covering up the rest of the saber, the projection of the saber itself, then it's okay. Because if it's all coming from one crystal, like if the plasma or the light is all coming from one crystal that's housed in the hilt itself, that's okay. Because that would mean that there's not three separate crystals for three separate blades. And that also, I think, is why Kylo's saber looks so unstable.
Yeah,
is because the focus, the focus is going in 3 points versus 1 with only using one crystal. As compared to a double-bladed lightsaber, where it, generally speaking, uses 2. That's why when Darth Maul's gets cut in half, one side is still active.
Yeah.
I mean, there are some things that hang me up personally on that. Like, if it's using one crystal, then how does I feel like the plasma should be displaced symmetrically. All 3 beams should be one length. Yeah. But whatever.
Suspension of disbelief.
Suspension of disbelief. I guess.
I took it as like it was attempting to focus the majority of the beam out the blade, and you were literally just getting exhaust port blow off the side.
I was glad that they used them. They got used.
Right, exactly. I thought they would be superfluous too, but when you see the fight with him and he stabs Finn right in the chest.
For me, just based on the aesthetics of it, I kind of hate it, and that's only because I always viewed the original movies as these samurai films, and I think the inspiration there is really solidly there, and for them to introduce the crossguard and everything like that and be nope, medieval knight, I'm you kind of crossing your streams here. Like,
I would agree,
it's
except
kinda-
that as in regards to that, I think it's fine that you would have different martial arts styles within lightsaber fighting, and I think that of course the Knights of Ren would be one that would come up with their own school of sword fighting. I'm kind of with you in the sense that I like the idea that they were always essentially samurai fencers, and Kylo's is a much more crude version. But I also think that they did a decent job of replicating that in the actual fights involving him. He doesn't fight like a fencer. He doesn't fight like a samurai. He's like hatcheting people with his freaking sword.
Yeah,
Now we
wanna see
need
Happy
light
Sword.
size and light halberds and
Light axes.
Yeah, I would love to see like just
some Jedi comes out in episode 8 and he
Well,
just turns on his lightsaber and all of a sudden
If you,
axe comes out.
if you
and you're
remember in Force Unleashed, there was that one character and she had the Tonfa lightsabers.
Yeah.
Which that's a thing apparently.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's canon anymore. It's probably not. But
Probably not.
still though that's pretty
Disney.
that's pretty legit. Yeah.
So and that's the other thing. The force focus. All my energy would go into lightsaber training. Like I probably wouldn't even know a force power. My one force power would be being able to get my lightsaber back after I throw it, because that's freaking awesome.
Well, and
you're General Grievous.
Yeah.
Well, but then also
okay,
using your force abilities to
nullify.
enhance and yeah, exactly.
I actually like the nullify.
Oh,
I
really?
like force abilities. Like if I could have one ultimate force power, it would be like a bubble that I create around myself where force powers don't work. That would be my thing.
Okay.
I get the dark saber, so it's okay.
That's okay.
I mean,
Real fast, Worm. Whose lightsaber are you holding?
Yours.
Because I have a problem.
Yours?
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
So Obi-Wan's?
Okay, Lion. Can you tell me?
That is originally Anakin Skywalker.
That is originally Anakin Skywalker's.
Who then became Luke.
Who then became Luke's, and then
Wait.
Became Rey's.
picked up by Rey. Well, when Maz gave it to her.
No.
Yeah, when
No.
Buying this box, they call this Rey's lightsaber.
It is Rey's lightsaber.
Not originally.
The most recent
It is
owner.
now.
It's
I
now,
mean, no,
sure,
it's not
yeah.
now because she gave it back to Luke.
Well,
she
we didn't
returned
see
it
him grab it.
Yeah, she's just standing there
that's
holding it to him for 5 minutes.
for 5 minutes.
Yeah, and he's gonna be like, I don't want that piece of crap.
Yeah, he's
Because
gonna
the
like.
Jedi need to end. I need that,
Oh. I like that lightsaber. I think Luke's episode 6 lightsaber right
Yeah.
there. I think aesthetically,
That's what I had in mind with.
that's
when
like
you
a
said,
true
like,
Jedi lightsaber.
I'm like,
It's
Well,
clean.
tell me that
well,
this is Luke's
and
like,
it's simple.
my issue too with the original trilogy, a lightsaber hilts. May I please? Thank you. I will switch you. My original issue was this: if I am going to use this weapon as like a sword or a melee weapon, it behooves me to at some point use both hands because the hilt is long enough for it, so I can have more powerful swings, and and then I can switch to one hand for quicker, more agile attacks. But the issue that I've had in the original trilogy is that all of them have these weird protrusions to make them look more sci-fi-y.
Yeah.
I've always had that issue because
Yeah.
I'm like, if I have to grip this with both hands, that is not very comfortable, and this is not very. I want to say, like, it's not as what's the word I'm looking for?
It's not natural. It's not good.
Natural. There you go. Yeah.
I think again that comes down to the style. I mean, basically, a lightsaber blade touches anything on your body,
And it's gone,
And we agree
yeah.
that you've eviscerated that part of your body. So ultimately, I think speed would generally be more advantageous than power. Like a one-handed, you can just come in there and tap somebody, and
Yeah.
the slightest
but the thing
touch.
is,
you're
nobody
supposed to
uses
do
it like one-handed really. Like, I mean, yes,
Yeah,
some people
nobody does.
do,
But,
including like the person that I was talking up, Merrick, Starkiller. But like you
Oh,
look from, the start of the franchise. Again, samurai film, they do two-handed.
But that's
Obi-Wan-
because it's classic movie fencing, though. It's not realistic sword fighting. It's show fencing.
Like you even think of like the battle on like yeah, it is show fencing. But like the flourishes and stuff they do, like they always like two-handies. Like
Well,
Darth Vader
I
doesn't.
see.
Darth Vader goes
I was gonna say
one-handed
Darth
all the
Vader
time.
uses one
Yeah,
hand,
he's
and
got
in the
force
prequels
choke
we see a
people.
lot
Yeah.
more one-handed saber usage than we did in the original trilogy, where we see a lot of two-handed.
So we're in
You
agreement
know,
that
what I like
in
about
my mind,
the
Star Wars
best
Battlefront.
duelists are all single-handed.
Star Wars Battlefront, Darth Vader is the only character that he does do that traditional one hand, just like he does in the movies. He's like, I won't
Well,
only
and
use one hand.
there's a
fight."
purpose though. There's a purpose for that because he uses one hand when the threat is not very big, he can use one hand and use the other hand to use his force abilities. But when the threat is larger, he commits with both hands, because in his fight with Luke in Episode 5, most of the fight he uses two hands.
Yeah.
So when the threat's not as big, he can use one and use the other hand for for another purpose. But then when the threat's larger, he has to commit and focus his attention and use both hands.
And honestly, I don't even think he does that because it's a real fight. I think he's doing that to increase his focus so that he can play with Luke more.
Absolutely.
Like, because he realizes that he's going to fuck with him. He changes his mind and he's no longer there just to kill him. He's like, okay, no, I'm actually going to, like, mess with you a little bit and I'm going to play with you because I know who you are. And then so that's why he does that, is to give him the opportunity to play with him and not make a mistake.
And which kind of bites him in the butt later on in the duel also.
Yeah.
So, on the subject of, like, that sequence, there's another reason why Episode 7 is garbage. Because Episode 7 is obviously its own thing, but really trying to, I guess, pay homage is the nicest way to say it, to Episode 4. I mean, everybody's aware of, like, it's like Episode 4 2.0, basically. But the thing is...
Not Ultra Death Star.
Yeah.
It was a winning formula. They were like, let's do it
Episode
again.
4...
Death Star 3.0.
Episode 4, again, very self-contained. It wasn't like, oh, mysteries. Yes, in Episode 5, twist ending, Darth Vader is Anakin Skywalker, who everybody thought was dead. That's a twist. It's not like this reveal, whereas Episode 7 is like, but don't you want to know about this mystery that we're going to tease you about for like 2 straight hours and you have to sit on for 2 years? Like, don't you just love getting blue-balled like that? Like,
Are you referring to Rey's parentage?
Rey's parentage, the entirety of the concept of Knights of Ren, why Luke is gone, how R2-D2 is in like a magic force call.
I don't see that as a big problem though. I don't see any of that
It's
as
totally like.
Well,
the reason why though, the reason why I don't
don't
see that as a problem now is because of the new people that are coming into the Star Wars franchise being like, oh my god, Star Wars is the coolest thing ever. Like, yeah, we hate that because we've all liked we've all at least respected or liked Star Wars for a while now. Some of us love it more than others, and that's fine, but we've all been aware of it for a really long time. Yeah. Other people who are just now coming into the franchise are like, oh man, no way, I wonder what's next. Because so many people that I went to go see, because I saw Episode 7 times in theaters with different people each time. So many people. What?
You paid every time?
I got gift cards for my birthday that went to the movie theater, so I paid only twice, so yeah. But so many people that I went with are not like way long time ago Star Wars fans. Like, they are just now, within the last couple of years, big Star Wars fans. Because I don't have a choice, that's the issue.
What does this have to do?
Because here's what I'm saying, is because they're coming into it and they're new, like, Disney's like, well, we have to do that so that they're invested, so that they want to pay the money to see it through later. That bothers us because we're like,
That's garbage. Make a quality product, and so that people have that faith that the next product you put out will also be quality. Don't just, like, force them into it to, like, resolve the issues that they already paid into. Like, at this point, I'm sure that there's an entire demographic of people out there who really only care about Episode 8, so the spoilers can come out, and they're like, oh, well, that's the parentage, that's the Knights of Ren, and, like, have that payoff, and they don't even really care about the movie at this point, because they're just looking for that payoff. Like, that's a cheap tactic, that's underhanded, like, whatever, it might make business sense or not, I don't really know. But...
Actually, okay, so here's my counter-argument to that, is that I'm perfectly okay with it, because, basically in the avenue of, like, I'm gonna go see the movies anyway, but the thing is that nowadays, I don't think a movie has to be tied up in 2 hours. I mean, we live in a time where obviously there's tons of very good franchises over the last decade, Lord of the Rings and Marvel and blah, 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 and Star Wars obviously being one of them. Where it's like, basically I'm okay with it being this huge extended story that it is a little bit pandering, I'm not going to deny, it's more than a little bit pandering. It's obviously very pandering in the fact that they're like, oh, here's a bunch of little teasers and you'll find out in the next episode and just come and watch it and give us more money. And obviously that's all there. It's undeniable that they have to make the money in order to produce the product. But at the same time, I'm okay with the fact that they're like, oh, we're not going to answer this until 2 more movies from now. I'm like, that's fine. I'm like, if I'm enjoying coming to these movies like I am with the Marvel movies, take as long as you want to wrap up the Infinity Stones, because I'm going to come to every freaking one and I'm going to enjoy it every step of the way.
I'm with Dragon on that one.
And that was what was refreshing about Rogue One, was because you didn't have to go see 4 other movies after. You could just do,
True, yeah.
alright, 1 movie, and like,
You know,
the robot that I like died.
Except they do, because if you haven't seen the original 3 movies,
You
you
have
get to
to.
the end of Rogue One
But
and you're
it
like, oh, now I have to
changes.
get lost in the Star Wars universe.
That's like the outliers.
So
of
really
course,
good.
So,
never
again,
seen
but there's a
those,
difference,
see
I
Rogue One
think,
first.
The gateway.
between, like, there's the follow-up in a sequel. It's like, hey, there's one product, and then there's a sequel. And they're both quality, and they're connected very strongly, but they're 2 separate products. Whereas Episode 7 was, like, a third of, like, 3 different products. Like,
Exactly, yeah.
okay, no, give me
But
a
we
complete
already
movie.
know we're already going to go watch all 3 of them. Everybody
That's,
went to that
that's the
movie,
most
so-
garbage excuse I've ever heard.
I don't think
we
so. I
got
think it makes
BB-8
perfect sense.
And beautiful droid in the galaxy.
yeah, BB-8 's
Okay,
pretty
so
awesome.
so which brings up another random little Q&A that I wanted to do, which is favorite and least favorite droids in the Star Wars universe.
Ooh.
Because my least favorite
Oh no.
was almost taken. C-3PO has always been my least favorite droid, but BB-8
I
almost
wanna know
took that
why,
role.
man.
Because BB-8 is one of the worst droids. I absolutely hate him.
Dragon
hold
is
on.
a hipster.
Hold on. I want to know why. I want to know why
Only
you think
reason.
that. Actually.
I'm with Dragon. I've got your back on this.
You're a
one.
hipster too.
Multiple reasons. One is
Wait,
because...
who's your favorite droid?
Oh, my favorite droid?
Meatbags.
HK-47.
Oh, obviously.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Obviously.
It's the meatbags one.
Yeah, he's great. Interrogative. Okay, so...
We need to play some Coder now.
we need to play some Coder. I know, that's what I'm saying. Just thinking about this
Literally.
stuff all week. I'm like, oh man, I gotta play some Coder. Dust off the old Xbox. The reason I don't like BB-8 is basically because he clearly is pure marketing. He's like, I mean, they marketed the BB-8 thing a year before the movies were ever even seen, before
That's
there were
true.
any trailers. And of course, kids loved it, and parents loved it, and everybody got the BB-8 t-shirts. And I wanted that movie to come out and have BB-8 be like terrible bad guy. Just so everybody goes, oh my god, I'm learning the child murderer robot, you know?
BB-8 just rolls up on
Yeah.
those younglings, worse
Just
than Anakin.
Worse than Anakin.
so bad. Oh
He's
man.
got the best maneuverability.
He's,
of any
yeah,
droid.
he does roll around on
As
people.
well-
And he is adorable.
That's,
like,
and
Okay,
I'll agree with
that's-
you where that's
Marketing.
concerned, is that as far as, because I always
Yeah,
thought
but-
for R2 and 3PO, I'm like,
Yeah,
I'm
with
going to
the
bring them
Millennium
with me
Falcon.
everywhere, but that's a detriment
Yeah.
because they're not mobile. They
They're
can't
not
move.
mobile, yeah. They
BB-8 is
certainly-
probably the most mobile droid, and which makes it a lot easier for me to take him on an adventure. Now,
the
it, but,
Droidicons. I want a Droidicon.
oh,
Yeah.
But
I-
okay, but here's the thing: is that also I consider him basically entirely superfluous to the movie. Like, unlike R2D2, who actually serves like fundamental like lead character roles throughout the course of the movie, BB-8 again is just kind of tied on as this cute little pet that's like hanging out,
Yep.
and people buy the merchandise
I
and
don't
not
care.
blushes.
I'm gonna
But I
interject
fell
right
for
here.
it.
As far as I'm concerned, BB-8 is the successful version of what they were trying with Jar Jar Binks.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Sure.
okay.
They're
I
like cute
can't
and
agree with
annoying and settlable. Here we go. Yeah.
Well, he doesn't. I will agree with that for one reason. There wasn't any time in Episode 7 where BB-8 actually served a purpose other than getting the thing to Luke's location to wherever. That was literally the only purpose. And again, that's them kind of repeating their thing like they did with R2D2. But R2D2, okay, he is a droid that has purpose. He hacks
Yes,
doors. He gets into places. You need him. He's an astro droid
Yeah.
that can do stuff.
BB-8 can thumbs up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
BB-8
Okay.
thumbs up. Right.
Yeah.
I also, he was obviously adorable, and like, I don't care that I fell for all those marketing ploys
Right.
because
It worked.
I loved
It did its job
it did,
for sure.
and I liked his personality because like Finn was like, "Where are we going?" and he's like, "I don't know if I can trust you," and then like he listens and he does it, and then he gives him the thumbs up.
My
and he
other
knows
complaint,
use
my,
that to smoke weed.
my
'cause
other
what
complaint
else
about
would you use
BB-8
that for?
is he talks like a little boy. Like, as
Sure.
opposed to being like, beep, boop, boop, beep, right? Like, he like actually makes like,
He's
he's like a little
more
freaking
personality.
like
Like, you
gremlin
can-
chipmunk noises or something. I don't know. Yeah. No, I didn't like
he
that.
purrs. Yeah.
Yeah, see,
I don't
that's
care.
ridiculous.
It's
That's absurd.
adorable.
I mean, if
And
you're gonna
he
make a
has
droid,
connection
why
with,
not?
Right, yeah.
So wait. So
I mean,
So
okay, so
different.
clearly, whereas
So-
R2D2 is an astromech,
Yeah, and he
BB-8 was like a children's toy. Is that what we're getting at?
No,
BB-8 is a kid's toy. He was actually made to
No,
be
'cause
sit
technically-
puppies.
BB-8 is an astromech.
I was gonna
He
say
is an
BB-8
astromech.
is an astromech.
So he's
He's
just
an
a new and
astromech.
Designed to roll around on a
Well,
ship.
because he's Poe Dameron.
And
He's
prove
Poe
so,
Dameron's
but-
asteroid.
Okay.
Okay, so those are your most least favorite and best favorite.
Yeah.
We already know who's your worst? Who's your
It's
least
also
favorite?
C-3PO.
Okay.
I
don't
like,
understand
I liked
that.
K2
C-3PO is
a lot,
great.
also from Rogue One.
K2 is so
He was voiced
great.
by Wash.
Yeah.
from
See,
Firefly,
K2
so
I can
it's-
appreciate. I still
sassy.
felt like
I love that.
he didn't
sassy.
really do enough for me in the movie. I was just like, oh yeah, another sassy robot, you know,
Well-
because they're all like that.
Well, okay. I'm gonna go ahead.
But I did actually, I kind of appreciated him in the sense that he was dark. That was the thing that I really liked about him, because all the other droids are very light and fluffy, and obviously my favorite HK-47 is not light and fluffy. He's an assassin droid, and so I like the fact that they were like, oh, repurposed, you know,
Imperial
thing.
droid,
Yeah, totally.
That was my whole thing about Rogue One, was like I liked all of the characters, but I didn't care when like most of them died.
Yeah, you don't care about any of them. They
And
don't
I was
make
kind of
you-
bummed that I didn't feel
I
that
cared.
emotional.
Wait, whoa,
connection.
whoa.
I cared.
I cared
In
about
Rogue
Jin.
One?
I cared about when Chirrut died.
In
I
Rogue
cared.
One,
I-
I'm
His
sorry.
death is terrible.
No, see, here's the thing. It's not because.
I wasn't
He's that character in the whole movie. In the whole movie, he was the one that I was like, oh, I want to know who this guy is. I want to know his story. He's got interesting background to him. Chirrut is definitely the most compelling character. And they were basically like, well, he can kind of kick ass as long as his buddy's there, and then he's dead.
It isn't his buddy there.
And I'm like, whatever.
So,
Dude, no, but his death scene, he gets up and he's like,
I'm one with the
I'm
force.
one with the force, the force
I'm
is with me. I'm one with the force, the force is with me. And he walks.
And it's
to that
epic that he
point.
just walks through the things, yeah. But
Well,
I still didn't care about him at that point. I was like, that's an interesting thing that you're doing, but I have no idea who you are.
Well, I think that right there is just the film's fault in general, because there wasn't enough time for you to really get invested into his character
Yeah.
on
right.
purpose.
And we all knew they were going to die anyway.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's the thing. But I think what Dragon's experiencing is when me and you, Jay, we went to go see Valerian City of Thousand Planets.
Yes.
And
Let's not talk about this too much because I'm going to see this and I'm very excited.
Hold on, just tell me right now.
Why
Good or
do
bad?
it's
Good.
complicated. It's really complicated.
Okay.
Don't
well,
listen to
Okay,
Don't
no,
listen to him.
no spoilers.
His opinion on things is just unreal.
No spoilers, because I do want to see it also.
Was Rihanna good in it? Because
Yeah.
I actually really liked
She
her.
It's
actually really
complicated.
was.
It's
I don't
complicated.
care about
Okay.
Oh
Rihanna.
my god.
Okay. Also, you guys should have all seen it at this
Imagine
point.
how fun it would
It's
be to
like
go to a Rihanna
oh,
Not at all. Like that, you just defined a terrible night.
concert.
Wait, don't you think she's hot? Yes or no?
Rihanna?
Yeah.
I don't really know what she looks like.
Oh.
So I can't really say.
Gotcha.
I don't think I've ever seen Rihanna.
Okay.
She's a singer, yes?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay.
all right. So first off, I will avoid spoilers, even though I'm mad that you guys haven't seen it at this point.
I
Like,
do really want to.
Just
I just haven't had a chance. I
Me
really
too.
want to.
Are you serious?
I'm going to see it
Yes,
on
I
Tuesday.
am. I'm serious.
That's
Go
tomorrow.
right now.
I'm
Tomorrow.
going to watch
Shoot.
it tomorrow night. I'm going tomorrow night. $6.
I'm taking that as your official invitation so I can go see
Yeah,
it.
let's go see it.
All right.
Can I don't work tomorrow.
Yeah, Blair.
All right. We're all going. Good.
Picture show tomorrow.
What time?
Or I don't know what time it is. We
To
have-
get back to it.
I get off at 8.
Okay, well then.
Sorry, we're.
Okay, can we really do this?
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't.
so
I don't
good.
get.
Anybody who's
until
listening can
8:30.
come too. It's fine.
I was most.
Anyway,
All right, wait. I really need to know Worm's point because he's getting frustrated.
Yes.
I love you.
I love you so much.
He's gonna explode.
So, we both had the same complaint walking out, where it was like there was a
Yes.
lot of fun, and then at the end it's just like, oh, here's this scene that requires you to be invested, and you're like, oh, I like didn't even realize that was like a subplot I was supposed to be following. I was more concerned with like hanging out with cool aliens and space adventures. But, I mean, I guess that makes sense. I believe that you're telling this to me. It fits narratively, but, like,
Doesn't feel organic.
it's just underdeveloped. It's like,
As one tiny chapter of a very much larger
yeah,
ethos.
those noodles were served real al dente. They was, like, just not quite there.
I can see it.
So Rogue
Gio?
One, really quick. Rogue One. The only thing that I was really, I bummed K2 died, and I was
Wait, we're
bummed,
still on favorite and least favorite droids.
But I didn't-
Finish your thought, and then I need to hear what this is.
and I was really bummed that Jin and Cassian didn't get to bang.
I'm glad they
What?
did.
No, I'm
I
glad
wanted
they didn't.
to.
I'm so happy
You
they
know
did.
that would have been.
No.
It would have been hot, and
It
there's some
Not
good,
even- not in
there's
the
some
movie.
good
I
part of
mean,
it, I'm
just-
sure,
Not
but
even like I don't want to see it. I just want to
Yeah, you
know.
Nah,
it
that would have
happened.
ruined it. That would have been terrible.
no, because
It was
That was
obvious.
I have
They
to agree
had
with everyone
more-
else. I have to agree with everyone else because here's the thing, Gio. Here's the thing. With that kind of relationship, it wouldn't have meant as much if they had the obligatory kiss, make out, have sex, fall in love thing. Because if that was the case, then the whole mission they're going on would have been this narrative about love, which is okay, but that didn't belong in the overall plot of Rogue One.
Okay.
It was about taking the misfits, putting them together, and making them work as comrades. It wasn't about a love story.
And I agree with that.
Okay.
And that's not what I'm talking. I don't want to see them bang. I don't want to even see them like make out or get close to that. I want to had they survived, they would have developed a relationship.
Oh yeah.
If I
absolutely.
were to know, if I know
Sound like they
anything,
know. I
it's-
think they know that
I
wouldn't
know
be the case.
sexual chemistry, and they would have had a relationship.
Well, that's just because she.
They
was
would have
not
had a
also
relationship for
Cassian.
3 months, and then
Then
Cassian would have been like,
I-
I can't keep up with you, Jen. I'm sorry.
I feel like this is like what we were talking
Yeah.
about on Wonder Woman, like the Steve-Trevor relationship,
Trevor, yeah.
where it's like they are important to each other and there's that attraction and they inspire each other to do greater things, but it wouldn't have been like that good
Because
a
of what she
relationship.
needed. That was her first relationship in the world of man. She like brought her into the world.
You don't think
And then
Jen
she-
had relationships before that?
No,
I
she
do.
didn't.
I'm talking
Yeah,
more about
okay.
Wonder Woman.
Oh, okay.
Because I thought that too. I was like, what are you talking about?
I'm just.
I did, but
Like, I'm
well,
pretty
okay,
sure
no, I
I
like Wonder
Jen at
Woman and
some
Steve
point she was
Trevor in
very-
other
right.
aspects. I love them together. I just thought their chemistry in that movie specifically was not good.
Okay, all right. I need to hear real quick, Worm, Jay, most favorite, least favorite droids. After you tell your point, because your head's gonna explode.
I just want to say that in Rogue One, Jin is probably one of the coolest Star Wars human characters to be introduced in all of the Star Wars universe. Jin is great.
Jin herself, yeah.
She's cool, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, chick Han Solo, what's not to like?
Right.
Yeah.
So here's my problem.
It's just a little bit more ass.
Cassian's the worst ever, right next to Shmi. Hate
What?
that man.
Why do you say
I
that?
wouldn't rate him that low, but he's definitely not.
He's
He's
not
terrible.
He's not great, but why
He's-
do you say he's terrible?
He's
That's what
pretty-
he did for her.
He's pretty dumb.
No,
How
he didn't do
moved-
anything
He moved
for
the
her.
character, moved like it forward.
I guess.
No, the reason. Okay, all right. Most favorite, least favorite droid.
Okay, so like, what are we collectively saying? Because if we're like, okay, all droids, droidicas,
That's Droidico.
and
Droidicas
super
is
battle
really
droids
cool.
are like my favorite
Right,
thing.
okay.
Especially like Darth Tyrannus controlling super battle droids, like those are his.
So
Okay, but-
I think
okay.
it's like pseudo-sapient ones with their personality.
Right,
that you can
okay.
appreciate
So,
individually.
favorite droid of all time,
I'm kind
Droidico.
of with you there,
Absolutely.
Droidica though. I
Droidica
think that's
would be
a
my
respectful
favorite as
decision
well.
for
That's
that.
actually-
Yeah, but
almost
that's
got
like saying-
picked by
But you can't take one
Okay,
on an adventure.
I get
Yeah,
Worm's
my favorite
saying.
person is human. Like, it's like
Yeah.
it's a little bit broad.
Where's that friendly sentient Droidica? That's what.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that would be my
You need to
choice.
just reprogram that.
Yeah.
If I can reprogram K2SO, why can't I reprogram a Droidica? And give him like a cool accent and have him roll around and
I'm
show
kind of
stuff.
given to believe that maybe their like processing unit couldn't handle that. You'd
Probably
have to, like,
not,
completely
yeah.
rebuild their species.
Most
So wait,
likely.
like, who are my choices then?
So you
We
got
There's like
3PO,
four.
BB-8,
3PO,
R2D2,
R2.
K2SO, that's it. Oh, you have R4. There you go.
Oh,
And
we
the
got
little droid that got sent back, that Luke almost picked.
yeah,
He
the
picked
one that Luke
one.
almost picked. He
Oh
got
yeah, the one. Yeah.
TC-34,
The-
HK-47. I don't know.
Because out of all those, I would say R2 is my favorite.
Okay.
You know, he is essential to. I mean, he saves the day multiple times.
Okay.
Especially in episode 3, he becomes like this awesome droid
I have a
that can
big
do
problem
like
with
anything.
R2, but okay.
He defeats a super battle droid.
And I
He
love
defeats
that.
2 of them.
And I love that. But there's one crippling flaw with that. But okay, go ahead.
But see, also, I really love C-3PO, especially like just throughout all 6 movies. Even in the prequels, he's kind of funny and like he's just like this cool droid. For me, okay, fine. I get all your faces.
It's fine. It's okay. If you
I'm
like,
with you. I have a great appreciation for 3PO.
I have a great appreciation for 3PO, but there's no way in hell I bring him on an adventure with me. Ever.
I mean,
I'll be
you
there
might
in like
need a
10 minutes,
linguist.
guys.
I might need a linguist, but The linguist who's gonna say the wrong things is the.
But see, that's why I bring HK, because HK was a protocol droid too. He just also was an assassin droid.
If I'm gonna bring one of them with me, it's gonna be R2, I guess.
Cool.
Yeah. He's
But when I
definitely
say least favorite, I'm like, I like them all, man.
Okay.
And I don't really have a least favorite in that aspect
Okay.
of my choices of droids. Because I love K2. He's great. Like, Rogue One, he's awesome. BB-8, I was
Partial
skeptical about before the movie, and then watching episode 7, I'm like, nah, BB-8's
BB-8
good.
though.
Because I kind of felt like they're like, this is the new R2, and I was like, you can't get rid of
You
my
can't
R2.
get rid of.
But then I'm like,
R2,
no,
D2.
they can coexist. Like, they're good.
Yeah.
So within that too, because you mentioned that like in a vague cast set, the Droideka is one of your favorites. I would definitely put the basic battle droid unit as being one of the worst droids.
Like
of
a
all time.
Federation droid.
Yeah,
the
Roger. Yeah,
those guys,
that's the
one of
worst droid
droids
ever.
of all
Easily,
time, yeah.
easily worst droid of all time.
And I hate what they do with them in Clone Wars and what's this stupid new one?
The Rebels?
Rebels, yeah.
Because now they like give each one like their own individual personality and they like
No, you
have
can't.
like their
Don't.
semi names and
Don't.
stuff, and they're like talking to each other and they're just
No.
using that annoying voice, and they're like
Right.
the new Jar Jar of Rebels.
Yeah.
So basically the minions from Despicable Me.
Yeah,
So wait,
those battles.
I love the
so-
Twinkie monsters.
Worm.
What?
Most favorite, least favorite droid.
Most favorite, R2.
Okay.
Least favorite, I'm real tempted to say BB-8 just because kind of like hate what he represents.
Okay.
But I
Being fucking adorable.
Yeah, I pretty much hate being fucking adorable.
that's
stand
the
against
thing.
that.
But no, it's just like again that like let's replicate A New Hope, but in a way that Worm doesn't like, and it's just like, hey, this is that R2 that you love, but
Specific
not
issue.
good.
They're like,
Yeah.
this dude right here, we're gonna make
Specifically,
him
that's
hate
good.
this
I
movie.
like
Yeah,
I
exactly.
believe it.
So it was just like, hey, you know how your favorite droid is R2? This is him, but the episode 7 version, so it's like kind of
But
nasty
we're
in a way.
like grappling hooks. That was cool.
And the
Tether.
flammable thumbs up.
Yeah.
Yeah, how come you just didn't have like a mag grip thing? Like R2
That's
can roll
true.
around on the outside of a spaceship. How come like BB-8 can't just
Has to
magnetically
tether somewhere.
stick to the outside of the spaceship?
It's a good
He
point.
had to like tether himself.
Maybe he can.
That's like
Well, it
backwards.
hasn't been explored.
And the
yet.
tether thing was just like a quick reaction to like the Millennium Falcon, just like.
Probably a little more secure, maybe.
Yeah.
So favorite for sure R2, least favorite for sure
BB-8
BB-8 probably.
probably.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Just was curious.
So I fell in love with R2 just watching episode 5 and 6, and
Same.
Luke speaking to R2.
Yeah,
I was
totally.
like, I want an astromech droid that I can just talk to.
Honestly,
right.
some of my favorite scenes in like all of, like science fiction, I don't know, is the scenes on Dagobah with Luke being kind of a stick in the mud and R2 being like weird and sassy and Yoda being just completely like senile and awesome. His stealing beef jerky. I love
That's
original
one of the
trilogy
best
Yoda.
scenes.
I don't care about prequel Yoda, but I love
Original.
episode 5 and 6 Yoda.
Original trilogy Yoda, absolutely.
It's pretty great.
You know that R2
Your
is just
droids?
sitting there like cursing
Oh,
at everybody.
Yeah.
being
See,
super
I'm kind of
sassy.
okay. I actually my most favorite used to be R2 until I met K2SO because
This is great.
he's just great, and I mean as a character, I loved him, and when I really
Watching
think about
him die?
watching him
Yeah,
die
that
was
was one of
really
the hardest
awful.
one for me.
And but the thing is, because I have to think about like, okay, if I'm like this cool space adventure dude, and I'm gonna take a droid with me, I'm gonna take K2SO because he's like
He was
the
like,
only.
you can miss some fools out.
Exactly, he's the only one with any combat prowess.
Yeah.
Like he can kill someone if I ask him to.
Yeah.
R2 killing somebody was an accident, and
R2 could do it though.
Oh,
maybe,
you could do it, yeah.
but 3PO
Like R2.
never could,
It was like
and
an
BB-8
attitude.
also couldn't.
Mhm.
So if I'm gonna take anybody with me, I'm gonna take K2. Also, I like him because of that. He's very attitudey and he has that dark side to him, which I appreciate about his character. Least favorite of all time? See, I appreciate and respect all the droids, but I think my least favorite probably is 3PO, only because... No, it's okay, but only because of the fact that he's just not mobile. Like, That's my one gripe with 3PO. Because, yeah, he's funny. Yes, he's also a linguist, and that would come in handy. But he's not mobile.
So
if I have to
you're
get
coming at it-
somewhere...
You're coming at it from like a really like pragmatic
Oh,
point
yeah.
of view.
Oh, yeah.
You're like, I don't care about like friendship or like hanging out. I'm like, who is the best tool for me?
I can develop
It's a
friendship.
droid.
It's a droid, and if I really want, I can develop that friendship with my droid. Or even the most, I can reprogram him to like me.
Okay, real fast. Just watching a documentary, I learned this information, right?
Okay.
And I'm sure you know this already.
Probably.
Slave Leia,
Okay.
that's all she was wearing.
Yes.
And if you were positioned correctly, you could see what you
Everything.
want. Yes.
Yeah.
Turns out the actor
Kenny
playing
Baker?
C-3PO,
Oh no, Anthony Daniels?
Anthony Daniels, is standing behind Jabba the Hutt in that scene, and he said he just had to stand there and just be the protocol droid, but no one could see his eyes, and so he was just like,
staring at.
and he was a perfect model.
I did
See
know
Carrie
that. That
Fisher,
makes me
so
really happy.
That's pretty hilarious.
Okay,
It's like,
Like,
well,
who
so-
wouldn't, right?
yeah, I mean,
Exactly.
You're
So-
just standing there anyway. You might as well.
Might as
stare
well,
at
yeah.
it,
And
Yeah,
she,
I mean,
we all knew
so
she was
out
a
of
freak, so it's okay. She was doing some crazy stuff with people. Okay, but we love her. We miss her. Rest in peace, Carrie Fisher. Real quick, I want to open up.
You were on Smallville one time.
I want to open up a Q&A real quick. So
This isn't gonna be quick.
it's not. You're right.
Never.
But here's my thing, and I've been curious about this from the get-go.
Okay.
So take your character from Coder. That's fine.
Okay,
Totally.
yeah.
Take your whoever you want to be in all of Star Wars. It could be
Okay.
what we talked about earlier, or if you're just a random person.
Okay.
But pick whoever you want to be.
I already did.
You have to take. You get a companion to go with you. It can't be a droid because we just talked about droids. Okay. So it can't be a droid. It can be any alien, any species. It doesn't matter. Who do you take with you?
Slave dancing Twi'lek.
Okay.
You thought that
Alright,
was
what's-
way too
I mean-
fast.
Context. So if it's like, oh, it's normal people,
So
and
they're
like a
human.
normal adventure.
They're
I like,
sentient and they're humanoid.
Yeah,
well, no, I'm saying the
Are we
context of
going
the
on
adventure.
vacation?
No, you're gonna go like
shopping. And...
no.
So like,
Are we hanging out or are we just...
No, you're gonna go like wreck fools.
right.
Okay.
So
And you're also gonna go on like you gotta go like visit planets, talk to people, wreck some fools, and also you gotta like complete a mission.
okay, so I'm fine with that. But
Okay.
again, is their power level comparable to mine? Do I need backup or do I want companionship?
Well, that's your call.
That's your call.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not gonna
That's
say
what
one way or
he's
the other.
saying. He's saying that you might run into a fight, so it's up to your.
I mean, but
Up
like,
to you.
but you know that I'm really self-assured. My power level is maximum. I don't need a backup.
It's up to you. So do you take somebody who can assist you, or do you just take a companion for companionship? That's up to you. But that's what I want to know. What? Okay,
Well, I
Jay's
think-
pretty simple. Slave Twi'lek, female. I'm hoping, right?
Not
She
my
dancing
real
like the whole
answer.
time.
No, that can be, and that's fine because she can be like in her sexy slave outfit, but then she busts out with like dual wielding blasters and like go wreck some fools.
She's like dancing and she's like, "Oh, JK, I'm Ahsoka now."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. She'd be like a sexy dancing assassin female. I'm guessing female.
No, my
Did you want a
real
male
answer.
Twi'lek?
My real answer. Yes, I want a male Twi'lek. So
Figured.
my real answer is the first one I shot out.
Okay.
Darth Malak. He
Okay.
and I rule the universe. We go on our little adventure, and all of a sudden he's like, "Well, we should probably just take over the world." I'm like, "Yeah, we probably should."
Okay.
Yeah,
So
and
that
then he's
would be-
like,
okay.
"Oh, JK, I'm gonna take over the world and kill you."
minus you.
Then
Yeah.
JK,
He's
I'm
Darth
Darth
Malak.
Revan the whole time. Or
Okay.
I hang out with Darth Plagueis the Wise, and
Okay,
I learn
okay,
how to resurrect
but-
people.
Okay, what about?
Yeah.
Let me put this stipulation on it. It has to be an alien. Like it can't be another human.
Oh, that wouldn't say.
So what,
My-
alien?
That took away my...
Sure. Yeah, my first pick is Padme Amidala.
Well, yeah, I knew you
Mine
guys were
was-
gonna
Okay,
pick
okay.
like
Mine was
hot women.
Obi-Wan.
That's okay.
Okay, then I got an
McGregor,
easy
Obi-Wan.
one. That actually kind of makes it easier because it was kind of a toss-up between
Mhm.
Padme Amidala and Mission Veo,
hmm
but eliminating humans mission.
There you go. Okay, makes sense. So, Gia?
I don't know, you like took out all my choices. Could it be like a creature?
Yes, it can be a creature. It can
that
be a
thing-
Wookiee. I don't care. It doesn't matter.
Dude, I'd bring a Wookiee.
I want that thing that Obi-Wan rode into battle against Grievous in the second.
Oh, the little gecko thing?
What are they called?
Oh,
You should
yeah.
look it up. What are those things called?
They're badass.
They have a name.
But I thought, and then a
That
human
thing was
companion would be Obi-Wan.
And what noise did it make? Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Yeah.
I sound a little bit more like the retarded guy from Family Guy. So, Worm?
So
Opie, thank you.
what point of the timeline is this? Is like post-Battle of Yavin? Like,
I think you get to pick.
You get to pick, because I'm going Old Republic myself.
Right.
Like,
I'm an Old Republic.
I mean, probably I would just want somebody with like authority and leverage, like Lando with his Cloud City.
Okay.
I think
somebody
would be
like that, an alien
like-
like that.
Yeah, like
Okay.
just kind of somebody with like authority and clout and like hookups, and who can like kind of be that guy on the comms headsets. Like, you could probably pick up the trail of this mission if you visit this city. I got a contact there. You know, like that.
The guy in the chair, if you
Yeah,
will.
the codec
Java?
support.
Java, yeah. There you go.
Java.
Straight up. He
With-
actually
with
might be the
you,
best
like,
one,
wow.
yeah.
Like,
But he doesn't need to be with you.
Yeah,
necessarily.
he's
No,
got
that's
the
the
comms.
guy. He's just the guy in the
Yeah,
chair.
yeah.
And you
That,
know Java's
yeah.
a good connection. If you got Java in your pocket,
Then
you've
you're-
got influence.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I know.
you got the bankroll, everything.
Yeah.
Java's my
Okay.
answer.
Java's
hands
my
down,
answer.
the Jawas.
You're so hilarious, Gio. You know my hatred for Java. No, I would take a Trandoshan. I would take Bosk, straight up. Like, I would take a Trandoshan with me. Just, you know, they're like that. Oh man, because think about it. If I'm like, okay, because if I'm just my regular
They have thermal
Mandalorian.
vision.
Well, yeah.
They
If I'm my regular Mandalorian self, who's a badass warrior and really good with blasters and has the darksaber and like super good at bounties, I don't have any force powers though. I am just human, okay? And so I have to have like a comrade. I have to have somebody with me who can back me up. I'm gonna take a Trandoshan because they are infinitely stronger than I am and just as good as a warrior culture. So
Yeah.
I probably that or Wookiee. If I have to pick, it's between one of those.
That's a good story. You should write the Mandalorian and Trandoshan
I will.
Team up.
Actually,
story.
I'm gonna write that down.
That's a good one.
Okay, so as far as aliens go, I would bring Zam Wessel with me. Just because now I have a shape-shifting alien along
Okay.
with me.
I'm okay. I'm down for that.
Companionship, and then when we go to fight, I mean,
He can
whatever.
Yeah, cool. No,
snipe people out, throw secret slugs into your room, get shot in the neck. It's good.
cool. Dope.
Dope. The end. Have you finally reached the end of your like capacity to rant about Star Wars extended universe?
no.
Like,
No.
No.
For at least a month.
because I mean, honestly, that's the thing that's like throwing me most off about like this whole get together. Is I came in, I'm like, all right, I'm like so able to talk about like these films and like the making of going into them and like their place in the genre, and then you guys are like extended universe, and I'm like, I know some things about that, but
See, I
what?
feel you. I had the exact opposite sensation coming into this because I'm like, oh, all extended universe. I've read the entire Wikipedia. Those movies.
All of it,
I don't
yeah.
care about the movies. I'm like, prehistory.
Well,
I mean, if we just
Okay.
started each one of us, because there's 5 of us here.
Well, let me real quick. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Jay, but let me ask that because I think it'll go along well with your point. Right now, every person pick one time period that you have to pick as your favorite from all of Star Wars in its totality. Old
Old
Republic,
Republic.
pre-Old
Mine's obvious.
Republic.
Yeah.
Old Republic.
Are we kind of all in
All
line that
Old
Old Republic
Republic.
is best? Okay, cool.
Basically, everything
Post-
after that is like
post-
varying
yeah, post
degrees
that.
of post-apocalypse. Like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. I think we're all in agreement that is probably the best and like the most rich in its lore.
I don't know.
The 16th of the 27 stacks of Coruscant.
There you
Coruscant's been like burned to the ground
So
like
many times.
like so many
go.
times.
So many times. It was
So
actually,
here-
it was originally a Tong civilization. Just one thing.
All I was
Yeah.
gonna say was like if we came to this cast and there's all 5 of us and we just started talking about which movie's best to worst,
Hmm.
without just saying like lists, right?
Because I already gave the correct list.
Wrong.
I didn't even say my list. So
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We would be here for the next 80
Days,
hours
yeah.
plus. Like,
And it would be impossible to keep track of. I mean, it would be ridiculous because we'd all have to be like, oh, well, this
Different
one was
tastes.
fifth
I know
for
Worms.
us, and this
I
one's
know
for
Worms
third
by
for
heart
us.
right now.
Oh, I do.
Okay.
I already forgot them.
Jay, what's yours?
I forgot everybody's.
Mine?
What's your list, best to worst?
Okay.
Of just
so,
the films.
Of just the film.
Episodic minus Rogue One.
Actually, I do want to say.
No, Rogue One's in there. Rogue One's in there.
Okay.
Worm threw Rogue One in there.
Oh, did you?
My number 3?
Oh, okay. Sorry.
So, number 1 best for me is episode 2, Clone
Okay.
Wars. And see, now I want to tell you why, but I won't.
Well, we'll get maybe to that later.
Yeah, unfortunately, the game footage is done. We were talking a long time.
Oh yeah.
I can
wanna
come
make
up
sure
with
we're
something
still
new.
Just want to make sure we're still recording.
Yeah, we're still recording. So,
This is a nice transition.
what am I saying? Episode 2, and then episode 1, Rogue One, then episode 6, 5, 3, 4, 7.
Whoa.
Okay.
Yours is probably closer to mine than Worms is.
I gotta ask just
So
about
much
one
fun.
film in particular. Why is 3 so low? It has like the elements that you look for, like the fancy lightsaber battles. I mean, it's got Darth Vader. Like,
Padme was perfect the whole time.
I feel like 3 should have been much more up your alley.
Padme and Anakin were having that stupid.
Their dynamic was.
Their
terrible.
dynamic was terrible.
We can
It
talk
was.
about that for now.
It was,
Anakin's-
even worse, it was worse than their blossoming relationship, which was pretty bad.
Yeah.
I hate Stan.
I would say Senate.
Okay. So, but that's how that ranks for you.
And Anakin's hairdo in episode 3 is awful.
Yeah.
Really? That's your gripe?
It's notable. It's
Okay.
noteworthy.
Dude.
Okay.
Episode 2, he's trying to follow in Obi-Wan's footsteps
Yeah.
with his looks. And he respects him as a master. And then episode 3 is just him complaining and whining the whole time.
What the hell does he do all throughout episode 2? Complain and whine the whole time.
No.
Way harder.
No.
Way harder.
He goes on the beaches of Naboo and
Oh,
makes
Complains?
love with
Makes love with that.
That's why it's your favorite.
Complaints,
Okay. The rapey scene. That's why it's your favorite. Okay.
It's definitely
If you rewatch the moment where they're like professing their love but they can't, that's a dude. If you rewatch that,
He's just like, do it. Just
no, for real. That whole
I can't because
whole
I'm a state senator.
I don't know.
I'm a queen and a handmaid and a senator.
I mean, real quick, because I do want you to be able to finish what you were saying, and I want everybody else to be able to get out their list. I think, like, some of the stuff that you pointed out is valid, but, like, not as wrong as you say it is. Like, yeah, in episode 2, he was still a Padawan. That's why, like, there's even the memes that go around, like, oh, nice one, my Padawan. Like, it's...
Oh, man,
Like
don't
that-
mind
that-
my
that-
very young Padawan.
Yeah, there's, like, that dynamic. And then in episode 3, part of the conflict is that he can't get the seat on the council, even though he considers himself Obi-Wan's peer at this point and not his pupil. He still respects him. He's like, you're my brother, I love you, until I think that you're banging my wife.
Yeah, that was stupid.
I mean,
That's my whole issue with 3.
there are issues with 3. There's the reason it's, like, not terribly high on my list. But the thing is, like, I think that dynamic shift was very intentional.
So,
Okay.
episode 2, he's learning, he's growing, he's fighting, he complains a lot. But then episode 3 is just that. He's just like, he's supposed to be transitioning into Darth Vader, and he doesn't very
Okay,
well.
but Jay, we can't talk about that for too long because
Yes, we can.
the biggest reason why that is a thing is because of the whole the Padme and Anakin relationship. All throughout 3, the motivations for him to turn to the dark side are just not there.
I mean, we have to. I think they tried very hard to make us perceive him as weak, and that it was weakness that was leading him to the dark side.
Well, and I would agree with that, Dragon, if it weren't
It
for
was-
one line in episode 4
It was
where Obi-Wan